Tonight on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive, NPAS goes west to the Silver State for the second of 3 consecutive weeks of action to get this season underway. And for the one lone paint track on the season that has now come and gone, Daytona is behind us, and the road to Chathburg begins tonight. This is the 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. We go racing from Las Vegas next. The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing is the premier NASCAR esports series featuring the cars and tracks from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. The 2016 campaign saw a return to the top of the mountain by Ray Alfalla as a 3-time NASCAR World Champion. The march to that championship was not easy, though, despite the fact that Ray Alfalla took home the most points in series history. It just also happened to be the tightest championship fight we had ever seen. These guys are set for the 2017 campaign, and as it has been for the 7 years prior, it is no longer going to be a straight shot to the championship. We are going to see the biggest change in this championship picture in series history, as for the first time ever, there will be a chase for the championship. We're going to go into the Homestead Miami Speedway at the end of the season with the 4 best oval sim racing drivers in the world absolutely tied in the championship. You just got to beat the other 3 guys out and you will become an official NASCAR champion. You're going to get yourself a NASCAR championship ring and, of course, $10,000. These are the iRacing Esport World Championships, the pinnacle of sim racing competition. You can catch it all season long, live coverage on iRacing.com/live. The road to $10,000 goes through America's Racing Showplace, where tonight we are happy to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the Las Vegas 250 race number 2 on this, the 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. Happy to be with you tonight from the entertainment capital of the world. Myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Cam Walsh and Andy Kessler at a RaceSpotTV booth, as well as our partners at RaceSpotTV, at Fans Choice TV, and the Motor Racing Network. Our pre-guru Louise downstairs, he's pushing the buttons and bringing us to you as well on Facebook Live tonight. And Cam, we'll get the puns out of the way, and we'll just say it straight up that somebody may just have to roll the dice to get the victory lane by the time things are all said and done tonight. And as I kind of alluded to there, the season begins tonight. We've been to Daytona twice to this point already, but now that that has come and gone, I think that these guys could really start to build upon a foundation and with a new objective in mind compared to seasons past, and that is a championship top 8 come 11 weeks from now.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody, and yes, roll the dice, lady luck, all of those words apply. But you know what? It's our first mile and a half. I'm excited to be here. Las Vegas always puts on a great show, and we managed to go a very long time green, Evan, last couple of weeks at Daytona. Let's see if we can do that here at Las Vegas. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't see some long green flag rounds. We're going to see how they end up taking this a mile and a half course here in Las Vegas.
Late track racing is something completely different from what we're going to see tonight, and it was a good one 1 week ago to open up this 2017 campaign. Let's take a look back to Daytona and this week's iRacing race recap. And we are set to get this 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series underway. Chris Shearburn takes the American Ethanol green flag from Daytona. We're off and away. Movement up at the front, look at the 27 and the 36. Both Bias and Bolton can go to the outside, and that takes away the two cars right behind that 35 as Shearburn for drafting help and fall quickly to the back bumper of the 71, but not before one car going to get through. That one about as close as it was when Ray Alfalla tried to sneak through from that second spot in line on the outside. The lead car got it. Cody Bias to the race lead at lap number 12.
Justin Bolton actually cycles it back a little bit as Alan Bose and Derek Bordeaux to the front. Alan Bose, Derek Bordeaux, and Ryan Michaeluza all stay on the inside, at least for now, with Logan Clampett leading that outside. PJ Sturgios also entering the picture. He stayed in the back for the entirety of that first green stint. He now wants to get some front-running action. Then you've got the strategy calls from Corey Vincent and Logan Clampett. We'll see how they do on their pair of two tires.
We're still duking it out side by side for the race lead. Going to be halfway home the next time by the 57 of PJ Sturgis, who came home just 2 points shy of a NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series championship 1 season ago. He won the most races out of anybody in that 2016 campaign. Looking to get things kicked off right where he left off with a trip to victory lane, second that time up. As we start to see that outside lane get some momentum built up. 71 also going to go to the outside of the racetrack, Mitchell Hunt. So just as quickly as that outside lane disappeared out of sight, they're coming back with some steam, trying to push themselves back into the top 5, and now Clampett going to go top side. So does Marcus Richardson, and they are going at it 3 wide at the start-finish line, and there they go with a 42.
They spin into the infield, caution flag is out. There's a lot of cars involved in this one.
Just ran out of real estate. The 71 ended up at a fence, and the guys on the outside just got tangled together. The 3, the 71, the 42, the 40, the 27, just the names that were immediately involved in that one. Probably about a dozen cars, Cam, in total. Green flag, though, gonna fly as we get back underway. Side by side and contact at the start-finish line with 19 laps to go.
Adam Gilliland was on it on that restart. Tried to get a little side drop by the looks of it off Chris Shearburn. He falls back as he's now side by side with Logan Clampett for the second place position. Clampett gonna have that spot at the line. Shearburn has Sturgis and Scott behind him.
Yeah, and there goes Derek Bordeaux to the outside, right in front of Marcus Richardson, leaving Nolan Scott having worked his way to the bottom of the line, leaving PJ Sturgios all the way on the outside. They're 3 wide. PJ Sturgios, Chris Overland, Christian Challier.
Look at the move by Christian Challier, though. The 6 gonna throw a block. There's contact down the back. Schoenberg gonna get punted down to the apron. He will force his way back up on track, and somehow everybody in one piece coming to 4 laps to go. Here they come off for quarter number 4. Clampett now on the outside.
And Bordeaux made a perfectly timed move to get underneath Clampett. They're still side by
there
side.
they go.
39 around.
Johnson around in front of the pack. Caution flag is out. Derek Bordeaux in front with 3 laps to go. He should be able to take home the win from Daytona as carnage breaks out behind him. Won't quite be at 200 miles an hour, but he will collect the checkered flag. Derek Bordeaux, your winner in the season opener from Daytona. The best way for that number 4 Ford team to kick off this 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series campaign. And with that just about set to get things underway from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Andy, these intermediate racetracks are going to make up the bulk of the calendar, and you're kind of our in-house pit road expert and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot wider, I think, of a range of kind of strategy we can see at a racetrack like this compared to Daytona.
Oh, you're definitely talking about some strategy for these drivers, short pitting, coming in a little bit earlier, getting those fresh tires for a little bit longer. That's going to help some of these guys maybe get from a top 10 to a top 5 over the course of the night. You got that. You also got guys that might stay out even longer on a run just to get that extra maybe 10, 15 laps at the end of the race that might allow them to stay out and possibly sneak out a win.
With that, the qualifying and now the warm-up sessions have drawn to a close. We will go trackside and take a look at tonight's RaceSpotTV starting a grid. Pole position tonight with a 29.096 going to be Matt Busa in the number 34 machine. Bringing us to green flag tonight, he will be joined on the front row by a winner here 1 year ago, at number 10 of Corey Vincent. Marcus Richardson and Ray Alfala going to be back on row number 2. They will start in 3rd and 4th respectively. And the fastest driver in the warm-up session, Ryan Luza, going to start from P5.
Starting in position 6 is Cody Bias. Philip Dion starting in 7th. Josh Berry will be starting from the outside in 8th position. Nolan Scott in 9th. And Bobby Zelensky finishes out your top 10.
The 78 of Christian Schallender will start in the 11th spot here tonight. How about last week's winner at Daytona? The 04 of Derek Bordeaux. He's going to start 12th. 13th goes to Chris Overland. Logan Clamp had a great run last week as well. 14th. And Brandon Schmidt at number 3. He'll start 15th.
Kenny Humpy going to start tonight in 16th position with Brian Schoenberg, Joe Latorello, Taylor Hurst, and Jimmy Mullis through 20th.
Jake Sturgis, Timmy Hill, Jake Nichols, Dylan Duval, and Blake Reynolds through to your position 25.
26 through 30th will be Trey Edson, David Rattler, PJ Sturgis, Brian Blackford, and Michael Conti in the number 5.
Continuing on through the field, Brad Davies, Mitchell Hunt, Kyle Putz, Adam Gilliland, and Michael J. Johnson through 35th.
Byron Daly will start in 36th. Nicholas Johnston in 37th. Zach Novak in 38th. Andrew Fayash in 39th. Alan Bowes starting in 40th position. Chris Yearburn had a great run at Daytona. He starts 41st. Casey Tucker, then Ryan Lowe finished out your 43-car field.
We get set for 167 laps, 250 miles tonight from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 1.5 miles every single time around this racetrack, working with progressive banking, which will bring multiple lines into the game, banked from 12 to 20 degrees bottom to the top side of the racetrack. As we always are, we're happy that you're with us tonight on RaceSpotTV at iRacingLive. The iRacing.com Ford Mustang GT pace car is off and away, and Matt Busa is gone. American Ethanol green flag flies. We are underway from Las Vegas, and a big jump for that 34 team leaves a big fight behind for second.
That Toyota Camry absolutely storming as they roll on a corner number 3, or corner number 2, already heading towards corner number 3. Your first time, Corey Vincent, Marcus Richardson, Ray Alfala, and Ryan Michael Luza heading through as we already have our first caution.
Spinners on the back straightaway, Byron Daly around. Looks like the 06 Chevrolet. One of the drivers involved here, and also the number 71 machine, and may have been where all of that started. And you could see just how tightly packed those guys were together in that battle for the second position. It's a very racy racetrack, especially right off of these restarts, where these guys can get a little bit aggressive, and it looks like Mitchell Hunt, Andy, maybe the first person who found issues coming off of turn 2.
Yeah, turn 2 could definitely be one of the trickier spots on this racetrack as well, too, Evan. And we saw it right there. Just starting to get a little loose on that top side and started spinning that thing around and nowhere for that 06 machine to go. And unfortunately for Byron Daly, into the pits early, and he'll have to get some damage fixed. About 3 or 4 other cars with some slight damage as well. They're going to have their work cut out for them early in this one.
I think we saw the 39, the 15, and the 90. Might have been, I think, 3 of the drivers who got at least a small piece of that one, but you can see on a RaceSpotTV second look at a replay there that it was that 71 and the 06 who definitely got the brunt of the contact. And just like that, we slow things down under the caution flag. Just at lap number 2, we get grouped up behind the pace car. I know Matt Boots is not going to be a big fan of that one because, as noted, that Gale Force Toyota really got going Cam at restart. He was about 6 car lengths in front, and I was getting ready to look forward to a good battle there for the number 2 spot. Caution comes out before that. Only change inside of the top 10 is that Ray Alfala started in the number 4 spot. He jumps up to 3rd. Marcus Richardson fell from the 3rd spot to P4.
Yeah, I gotta say, I probably jinxed that one by saying we'll hope to see a good long green flag run there. But yeah, things getting a little screwy right at the beginning here, coming off 2. It's going to be pretty tricky. So let's see what they can do this time. I think hopefully everyone can keep their ponies nice and in order underneath the hoods of these stock cars, and they can get their way rolling as they re-rack them and restack them for the first time already. We're only on lap number 3, so hopefully they can get this sorted out, and we can get back to some good flag racing.
Something that we talked a little bit about last week was some of the schedule changes for this 2017 campaign. Las Vegas, a track that has been here for quite some time. You can look all the way back to 2010 in the inaugural season of NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series competition. Sandy Banerjee won the race in 2010. Brad Davies, your winner in 2011. Big Sturgis, the only driver to have multi-time wins here, 2012 and 2014. Marcus Lindsay won in 2013. Kenny Humpy in 2015, and as noted, Corey Vincent, who started second tonight, your most recent winner from 2016. Let's just take a look on top of the iRacing.com Ford Mustang GT pace car at that time by. Lights are going to stay on, so at least one more time around before we get this thing back underway. Cautions are something that in races in which we have long green flag stretches can really mess with the strategy, and the yellow this early on, though, really doesn't provide any incentive for anybody to come down pit road. I think the only drivers on pit road are the guys who kind of got beat up in that one. So this really doesn't do a whole lot, but kind of just delay the green flag of this race by about 5 or 6 laps for the yellow coming out on the opening lap. It really, I don't think, changes anything strategy-wise. Too early for that still.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you might see, and I think maybe we're seeing it out of Ryan Luza, you see him up on the high line, staying out of everybody's way. He might be shutting the car off, coasting, saving a little bit of fuel. That's about the only thing you're going to get. You know, if some of the drivers towards the back maybe come in to top off, you might see some of that. But other than that, track position's so key in these races and in this series that you're not going to see any of these guys up in the front, especially only after one lap, come down and make a pit stop and take away that track position they have.
Did note that it was a 250 miler tonight, 167 laps from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, which is a good distance. You know, we're going to see this distance 2 more times as the season goes on. The 4th race on the season, April the 11th, going to be from the Texas Motor Speedway. We're going to have 167 laps there, and then we will also have 167 laps at Chicago in the Chase, and then actually at Homestead as well at the end of the season. So these intermediate racetracks right in and around that 200 or maybe 250 mile range over the course of the year. Lights on top of the pace car, though, going to go off, so we are going to get back to the green flag conditions again. Only change inside the top 10. Ray Alfalo went +1 to P3, and Marcus Richardson went -1 to P4. Other than that, nothing changed inside of the top 10. A couple of guys a little bit switched up maybe mid-pack. But question is, can Matt Busa get off and get going like he did that first time? Again, it was a beautiful start on the inside of the racetrack, having the ability to go from when the pace car ducks down to pit road to the exit of the restart box. So the 34 has quite the little bit of a time frame to play with and try to get going. We'll see if he can do it again. Keep an eye on Corey Vincent to try to get down in line after the start-finish line. Cannot change before we cross the start-finish line. We saw 2 drivers penalized for that 1 week ago in Daytona. Tries to maybe get his way down in time to maybe shut the door on Ray Alfalo, who's going to be inside row 2.
And as they come across, the pace car is going to be pulling off this time by Matt Busa. He's going to hold that inside that Toyota Camry. It's all going to be on his right foot, sitting on that throttle as they look to get away here, resuming here on only lap number 5. There goes the pace car, and there goes Matt Busa once again already. An amazing jump as Ray Alfalo is already on the inside of Corey Vincent. He wants to see if he can get second position. The rest of the field pulling away.
Almost identical to what we saw on the first drop with green flying tonight. Now Alfalo going to make the move. He go from 3rd to 2nd up the inside of the racetrack. And here comes Ryan Luza, who is 5th position on the restart, trying to fight for 3rd. He'll be door-to-door, side-by-side, down the back now to quarter number 3. Is Corey Vincent and then Herculiner Chevrolet trying to hang on top side, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Luza slides over the nose. Nice move at a quarter number 4 to get the spot.
Yeah, close call right there for the number 1 of Ryan Luza, but able to pull away now as they enter back into turn number 1 here. So that bottom lane, we'll have to keep a note on that. Bottom lane is where you want to be on these restarts. We saw Ray Alfalo take advantage of that. He was able to get around Corey Vincent And now Ryan Luza as well as your top two, starting to pull away, but Luza, he wants to reel him in before too long.
Everybody did a good job, actually, of catching up to Busa, considering how good he got going right out of the gate on that one. Really tightly packed around P10. How about Bobby Zelensky, one of our Pro Series transferees this season? Aggressive slide to the inside on Josh Berry. That battle side by side for P8, and at 83 Ford can't make it stick on the bottom, and he'll actually lose a spot as Derek Bordeaux comes up the outside of the racetrack. Now he'll go down to the inside, side by side with Josh Berry. Bordeaux comes into tonight as your overall points leader via that win 1 week ago at Daytona, becoming the second Canadian to win at the NASCAR Beginner Free Series. We saw Dylan Duval do it 1 season ago at Indianapolis, and he'll 4 on the charge. He'll take P8.
And you saw him dip way down below the start-finish line. Perfectly legal here at Las Vegas. Getting massively loose, though. Derek Bordeaux, hold on to that number 04. He manages to keep it off the wall, and we are still... No, actually, he might lose it still. He's still fighting with that thing. There he goes. He's managed to sort that car out, but boy, what costly expense that was. He is all the way back in the 40th position now.
I tell you what, that car could have been pancaked and probably should have been pancaked to the inside fence. It's going to cost him tons of time. He falls to 40th and last on the lead lap, Andy, but I'll tell you what, a hell of a save by the driver of the 04 Ford, keeping that thing in one piece. Came with about maybe 3 feet of that inside fence.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's probably one of the best saves I've ever seen off a turn 2 here at Las Vegas. But man, just an absolutely fantastic job. And you know what, this early in the race, plenty of time for him to make that up, like we talked about earlier. Short pitting on his pit stops, anything to try to make up some of this ground. It's definitely in the hands now for that 04 Derek Bordeaux, but just unfortunate right there. Last week's winner taking that dive, but he did a heck of a job keeping it off the car on the outside as well, too. So that was just a fantastic piece of driving right there.
Meanwhile, up front, things have calmed down just the slightest. You take one car out of the equation, you get a little bit more real estate to work with. The top 5 run single file at the moment. Ray Alfalo continuing to pressure on Matt Busa. One thing that we were just talking about is the progressive banking. That this Las Vegas Motor Speedway has 12 at the bottom, 20 on the top of the racetrack. It allows these guys to work multiple grooves a lot lower on the racetrack down at this end of the racetrack in 3 and 4 than you will see that they do down in 1 and 2. That time by your leaders, almost left side tires right down to the white line, back off for the other half of the racetrack. They were almost 3/4 of the way up there, but Alfala been hanging out at about 3 to 4 car lengths off the bumper of Busa. Busa doing a good job, though, of using that clean air to stay up front.
And I've been noticing, watching the starter screen, I'm seeing the lap times are already starting to fall off. It's we've only really had maybe 6 or 7 laps of green flag running, and they started low 29s. They're already almost out of the 29 bracket, and they are starting to take the corners about maybe 10, maybe 12 mile an hour slower in the corners. They were about 182, 183 on the entry. Now they've been down to about 175, 174 before they get on the throttle. Already the tires are starting to come off of these cars, Evan, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see more loose action here as these cars' tires start fading away.
The number 90 machine going to have to hold the outside line. That's Nicholas Johnston, one of the drivers who got caught up, I believe, in that little bit of an incident that we had on lap number 1. He's some visible right front damage. They'll go 3 wide to get around him. The 01 machine, I believe, sneaking through. Actually, the 10, Cordy Vincent, top side with Marcus Richardson. That 10 machine did get passed up by the 01. So it looks like jumping back up in front of all of this is going to be Corey Vincent, going to go up to 4th position. Trying to get back to where he started, though, in P2. As you see a close battle now for 2nd, it looks like that Luza might actually be applying the pressure to the back of that number 2 Ford before that number 2 Ford could get to the back bumper of Busa, as that 34 now actually starting to open things up. One thing very interesting, I know we're only 16 laps into this thing, Andy, about 10 of them have been under green. These guys are not kind of locked in yet. They don't have a specific line. Every single time, especially down in 1 and 2, these guys are taking a different lane, trying to find some grip, as we see side by side for 2nd. Luza to the inside of the racetrack, looking to gain his 3rd spot. Alfala not giving up. He'll fight back off.
No, he won't. You see the one car push up just a bit, slows him up off of turn number 4, gives that number 2 machine of Ray Alfalla in that position. And how about the 01 of Marcus Richardson? He'll clear the 1 now as they enter turn number 1 once again. So that little bit of push, that speed that he lost there from Ryan Luce off of turn number 4, cost him a position after he was trying to battle and trying to get that second spot. Wasn't going to happen. He's going to have to reel things back in now as he looks to the bottom once again in turns 3 and 4, but not going to be enough here as Richardson's going to hold him off for now.
Marcus Richardson started third and runs in third as they go right now, and starting to see that separation, see who's good. And this is always the fun part of the race. We talked about it at Daytona, and you said that you kind of have to wait until tonight to really see this come to effect, and that is guys who maybe have a really good car in qualifying trim and maybe not the best on a long green flag stretch in race conditions, and then vice versa. Somebody who doesn't qualify very well but can race exceptionally good. It's these opening 30, 35 laps maybe that those guys kind of weed their way through, and we get a better idea of who's going to be where as this race continues on. There is a hornet's nest back at about 15th position full of guys trying to go forward. Jimmy Mullis, who runs at 15th at the moment, is just in front of a battle behind him that has Brandon Schmidt, the number 66 of Blake Reynolds. Reynolds plus 9 positions to this point, and 3 wide they will go. Joe Letterello going to force his way up the bottom, and a 58 going to make a move topside, so Kenny Humpy going to get clear on the 66 as this battle rages on, about 4 seconds off at the top spot.
And every time they come off a corner exit, especially off of 4, I'm noticing these guys are all taking different lines, even though they have competition pretty much bumper to bumper with them in both directions, and that's fairly interesting to see. A couple of high guys, Kenny Humpy, a couple of low guys, Jimmy Mullis, as they are pulling through, just coming out of 2 right now. Some cars are dipping way down to the inside, like Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill, he was looking like he was going to try to dump onto the inside of Joe Letterello, but it's just not going to work. And then you see how he climbs right up that red number 4, climbs way up, and he has to get out of it to keep it out of the door of Adam Gilliland. A lot of room to race here in a very three-dimensional Las Vegas. These guys' lines are all over the place, and that is a very good thing to see, very exciting thing to see in the opening stages here at lap 21.
The top 10 single file as they go now. Been keeping a half eye on Chris Overland and Bobby Zelensky for 8th and 9th position. They have yet to go side by side, and looks like Logan Clampett in that 44 Chevrolet wants to join the party and try to get a win here tonight after getting P2 1 week ago. He'll look to the outside of the racetrack as you see the 83 go down. Issues I'm hearing with Kenny Humpy a little bit back in the pack. The entry has fallen down quite a bit, actually. Was just about in 17th spot. He's fallen to 24th, and it sounds like he caught the fence a little bit, Andy. You see that right side damage.
Yeah, he did. Coming off 2 that last time by, just got into the fence. Everybody scattered around him, lost a bunch of positions. But it doesn't look like it hurt too much of the speed there. There is some right side damage to that 58 machine. But however, Kenny Humpy, the champion that he is right back in it now, trying to get those spots back here before the first round of green flag pit stops.
Still a lot of close quarters racing, though, considering the fact that we are 23 laps into this. We do have a side-by-side fight inside of the top 10, but it's Josh Berry, the 88 Chevrolet, who started in 8th and lost about 3-4 spots off for the green flag. He'll make his way back inside the top 10 with that move over the 44 machine, dropping Logan Clampett back into 11th spot. And in front of them looks like Zelensky heating up to fight with the 47 Chris Overland, the 27 Cody Bias is right there, Philip Diaz, Corey Vincent, a big train of cars, 5th through 9th position the last time by, separated by just half a second.
And Ray Alfalla just up front. He has been slowly losing ground. Marcus Richardson has been all over him as he's been dipping well to the inside. That 01 car, and that's on the inside of the 2. And they come so close on corner exit, it's only a matter of time before these guys start dooring each other. Hopefully that will not come to pass, though, as we finish off lap number 25. But it's fairly interesting to see just where people are trying to probe the defenses of the car in front of them and decide really where to attack. Some of these guys are diving well to the inside, going down the backstretch, and then they're just sort of almost launching the car, hoping that it finds a spot to stick in corner number 3, at least further back in the field, where they can afford to do that. But these guys up front, it's fairly exciting battling right now. Some laps Ray Alfalla is faster, some laps Marcus Richardson is faster. But all in all, though, I have to say, pretty impressive. They're still pulling away from position 5 and beyond.
Side by side they go with the 94 and the 27. Diaz on the outside is going to get squeezed up by Cody Bias, who made a move to the inside. 3 wide we go again. Chris Overland down to the white line, and he will take not 1 but 2 spots in the center of the corner and slot up in front of Bias. That's one way to make a move, as that number 47, Chris Overland, jumps to P6.
Yeah, the biggest loser in that would be the 94 of Philip Diaz. He just lost about 4 positions right there as all the drivers got around him. He had to check up coming off of turn number 4 because of that slide job by Overland. But Overland, how about that? From 13th to 6th here in this opening run. Definitely one of those cars you're going to have to watch in the long runs.
I think the 47 of Overland came over the radio and apologized to Cody Bias. He was clear by about half a car length in the center of the corner, and then he really started to push up just as we saw Bias coming back, and the 27 could have not lifted and junked both those cars. He gave him the benefit of the doubt, backed out of it just a little bit, and cut him a break there, and Chris Overland's going to end up P6 when that thing is all said and done. Side by side a little bit further forward, Marcus Richardson and Ray Alfala in a battle for 3rd, and the 2 machine just going to kind of give it up. Stayed topside that time in 3. Richardson went to the bottom, got the job done, and the 01 now back where he started, up to 3rd.
Yeah, and while that was going on, it looks like Ryan Michaeluza might just have a long-run car. He manages to pull right up to Matt Busa. He ended up coming alongside, made the pass. He's now led his first lap, got him going into 2, I believe, as Ryan Michaeluza, your race leader after Matt Busa has been leading it since the start. But that's not to say that Matt Busa really wanted to fight for that position. He might want some time behind Ryan Michaeluza, but Luza, your new leader on lap number 30.
We'll see if Busa can hang out with him. Typically, it's a lot harder to run in line behind somebody with the dirty air. The car really gets tight, and we've seen a couple of people get into the fence already, although these cars have looked definitely sporty enough. With about, I think, 3 times we've seen 3 wide coming off of that quarter number 2. How about the 78 of Christian Challoner on the move, trying to get around the 44 Logan Clampett? They battle side by side for the number 10 position, and thought they might have gone 3 wide that time. They were looking at splitting that 88 of Josh Berry in front of them. They're going to have to stay behind, but caution flag is out, lap 31.
Yeah, caution out for some problems deep into the field here, but unfortunately right now our second caution of the night's going to plague us right here. Looks like the 71 of Mitchell Hunt going to be involved in this one, and that is going to bring out our second caution, but it's coming right at the time when guys were looking at big pit stops. It looked like the 04 was going to come down as we take a look at the replay on your screen.
It kind of an interesting one, Cam, but also looked like it kind of looked like, I guess, it was so tight that it got loose. That car was drifting up and up and up the hill, and gave it all the wheel that he could, and it ended up spinning just before he smacked the wall. It snapped back up, though. He did end up pancaking the driver's side of that 71 Chevrolet, the only driver involved in it, and could have been a lot worse. It was in a pack of about 6 or 7 cars that are battling for position. This one, though, just a single car involved.
Yeah, that front stretch, that might definitely have that white line, but they were able to dump right down onto the bottom, and that is what they all did. Mitchell Hunt, obviously that setup, he is not a happy camper with. That is the second time he has spun now. It looked like the car just came off of the high side. It sort of leveled out, and once that banking went away, all the suspension and everything just sort of let the car go, and off into the wall he went. That tail got very happy, skipped it, and off and away he pancaked. Pit stops, though, will be coming.
Race leaders now to pit road, and they are led by Ryan Luza, who's going to go down to pit stall number 5. This will be an interesting thing to see just how good pit stall number 1 is. Matt Busa, pole sitter, got that last stall in line for qualifying on pole. He's going to come into the line right behind that one of Matt Busa, give us a good idea of just how much of advantage that will be over the course of the night. Race leaders into the box. Looks like relatively everybody got down in time at a clean entry. Right side tires going up on all your race leaders. It was a pretty good length run. 4 tires and gas for the guys at the front of the field. Luza going to peel out of the box, and he is not going to win the race off of pit road. Last second, 3 wide, but number 1 pit stall, Matt Busa, going to get it by about a tire length. Yeah,
it was a close race off of pit road, but a great job by Matt Busa getting off the pit road. like he did. Ryan Luza, you got to say, that was a good pit stop as well, too. Able to hold on to that spot. Looked like Marcus Richardson might have had him, but he didn't. And Ryan Luza will hold on to at least second for now. So now we get to see what Luza can do with relatively clean air. When he started this race, of course, in that 5th spot, he had to battle around some guys, and it took him quite a long time to get up to that top spot. We'll see what he can do now, seeing that he can start on this front row this time.
And to be fair, also still looked pretty good after fighting through that traffic. So Busa's not going to like the fact that he's going to start right alongside him. I don't think there's any question that the 34 kind of has the gist of things on what he needs to do to get going on these restarts. The only 2 we've seen tonight so far, he's done exceptionally well on. I think that the challenge for Luza is going to be starting in 2nd spot. Last 2 times, the guy who's on that outside of the front row allows the driver inside row 2 starting 3rd to get up alongside them. It just is the way it is. 3rd is a better place to restart than 2nd because you can get a better read on that guy in front of you, take it off. And if maybe Marcus Richardson can creep up from 3rd and separate Busa and Luza and kind of force that number 1 machine behind him. That would be good news, I think, for the 34. I think Luza's concern here, get to P2 and then go after the 34. But who knows, he might just be able to get a good enough jump cam, maybe challenge right off of the green.
Well, perhaps, but I was going to be fairly interested to see perhaps how Luza could run his start. Matt Busa, the pace car barely clearing onto pit lane before he let his car loose both times we've had to start this race, and now we'll see this 3rd time if that is exactly what he is planning to do. A couple of pit stop information. Matt Busa, he had a 14.9 pit stop. Ryan Michael Luza, technically he was on pit lane for less, but with a 15.6 pit stop, that is going to put him quite a ways back. Marcus Richardson, a 14.8, a couple of 14.7s, a 15.3. We only had 3 or 4 15s. Just perhaps a little bit dirty pit entry, or dirty pit stall entry cost them a couple of essential times as they cross the start-finish line to mark out lap number 34. I am curious to see how Matt Busa is going to do this, and if he gets as good a start as he did before, I wouldn't be that surprised.
Lights off on top of the pace car at that time, so we are going to get things back underway. The top 5 going to line up roughly similar to what it was a little bit earlier on, but a couple of guys have made moves forward. Matt Busa, your Polster are going to be in control once again. Luza going to be restarting 2nd, and Marcus Richardson in 3rd, as we've noted. Ray Alfala still going to be P4. Cody Bias, though, who was 6th for the drop of the first green flag +1. He'll go from the outside to the inside of row at number 3. Take the green flag in this one in the number 5 spot. So the caution flags really haven't opened up much of a pit strategy window, Andy. Everybody agreed that last time by, enough laps on the tires, come down, get 4 tires and fuel. So we restart this race with 132 laps to go and really nobody off cycle.
No, everybody, at least all your front runners, all the guys on the lead lap on the same cycle here. So this should get us into another green flag run here. And a couple other guys I'm noticing here is the 47, Chris Overland. Bad pit stop for him as well. He was running inside the top 10, and now he's going to restart 10th. So lost a few spots there for himself as well, too. So we'll have to see how quickly he can climb back up into the field.
Pace car going to slot down to the pit lane this time. Field going to be in the hands of the 34 of Matt Busa. They'll come rocketing out of quarter number 4. Holds them back a little bit longer this time. Puts the right foot down. Green flag flies are back underway. And he changed up the strategy, but that one was beautiful. 2 car lengths to the cutoff to quarter number 1. Meanwhile, Luza going to be clearing a battle side by side for 2nd as Richardson tries to get to the bottom. Can't do it.
Now, Luza's got a fairly good exit going in through 1 to 2, so he is going to be able to keep that 2nd position. Ray Alfala on the outside of Marcus Richardson. Looks like he should clear away position number 3 as they're going to start running 2x2x2 and trying to get in a single file fairly quickly. I don't think these guys want to start running their tires. Somebody goes well to the inside. That's Taylor Hurst, the number 74 Chevy, as he pulls up back into slot as they get this running and away. Already 3 wide, back in position 10 and bad.
Yeah, the 40 was looking to go up the middle of the racetrack. That's Jimmy Mullis, thought better of it, and Chris Overland going to get it up front top side that he was clear. So that battle going to continue on for about 12th, but a bit further back in the pack. We look more towards the front of the field. Corey Vincent in the number 10 machine, trying to get a big run out of quarter number 4, and The 44 behind him, Logan Clampett, just trying to find a way by, trying to get up and around the 83 of Bobby Zelensky. Zelensky too good on the inside. He's going to be able to hang on to P6.
Yeah, the top side for the 10 of Corey Vincent has just not been where he's needed to start on these restarts all 3 times on the outside, not been able to get anything going. He finally gets back in the line, but unfortunately back in the 7th spot right now with a little heat now from the 44, Logan Clampett. He pulls to the back. Bumpers are still side by side for about 4 rows deep right behind him, and it's all right there around Chris Overland.
Chris Overland's been in a lot of these battles tonight. The driver who started 13th, that's been about right where all of the excitement has been, just outside of the top 10, and they are tightly packed together once again. The 74 Machine Taylor Hurst on the bumper at Challenger, decides to go high, try to make a way around it again, outside a viable option at one end of the racetrack. Maybe not as good though at the other end, so you do have this constant back and forth, but this racetrack is very competitive off of restarts, and you can see that as you've got about 5 drivers there tightly packed within 3/10 as this continues rated around the 11th spot right now, and that 47 still in the middle of it.
Yeah, and they're still rolling right into it. It's not too much of a surprise to see these guys pulling through. I'm kind of interested to see just how they're pulling away, as of course the 47 Chris Overland and Christian Chalner as they're pulling through lap number 41 now. It's interesting to see how aggressive some people are. It seems that if you want it, you can get the speed. It just costs you wear on that tire, and it's important to note that, because a lot of people might see somebody charging up through the field and go, wow, this guy's got a car, he's got a real hot rod, but 5-10 laps down the road, that car's going to start sliding down. So it's been exciting to see as Dylan Duval, he ends up getting a door into Jimmy Mullis, the number 40 car, and he had to hold on to that one. It wasn't as dramatic as, Derek Bordeaux's almost incident earlier on, but it was still quite a bit of skill that he needed to wrangle that number 42 Chevrolet back into line, and Blake Reynolds had a very good seat to that one.
I just love seeing these guys go high and go low, trying to find a way through. They almost have to back out of it when you got 2-3 wide in front of you. The road's blocked. You can't go anywhere. The 8 of Adam Gilliland right now. Top side up behind the number 66 of Blake Reynolds. He was just in line behind Nolan Scott. Kind of looked low and then decided to go high. So everybody trying to find a way around it again. Well, the tires are still relatively fresh. You want to get these moves in now. That'll end up in a side-by-side fight for 18th spot. And I think Gilliland will get it up front that time off for quarter number 2 to at least have an advantage. Was 3/4 of a car length clear. 16 going to try to fight back, not going to be able to do it. And Gilliland going to get him off the corner. The 33 squeezes through. Joe Letterello making a spot topside and keeping that 16 forced on the inside.
Yeah, forcing his way to the outside, a loose ground into turn number 1, but that top lane really gets the momentum coming off these corners. That's what carries the speed down these straightaways, but clear them right there will be the 16 of Nolan Scott. Now it opens up the bottom side. Here comes Joe Letterello looking to the bottom now as they continue side-by-side action just ahead of him. And how about even up ahead with Cody Bias in the front top 5. He's looking for another spot as he tries to get around Marcus Richardson. We got side-by-side action all over this racetrack.
Meanwhile, up front, things aren't as exciting. They've single-filed out just a little bit, but there is a fight for 4th position. Cody Bias going to be able to hold off Marcus Richardson for the moment. Here comes Bobby Zelensky, side-by-side for 5th spot. Only about 6/10 off of the leaders, so while they are single file up here more or less, they haven't really spread out all that much. Looks like Richardson going to fight back at the outside, not give things up quite yet, but you got side-by-side inside of the top 10. You've got side-by-side at about P11. Christian Challenger, Taylor Hurst do battle off at a quarter number 1, and these guys have worked themselves, Cam, all the way up to that outside fence, using every single inch of the racetrack. As nice move by the 74 Hurst to slide in line topside in front of Challenger. Opens up the inside though for the 57 of PJ Sturgis, trying to find a way through.
Yeah, and Sturgis started well in the back. 10 laps into this run, and we are already out of the 29-second bracket. We are well into the 30s. Your leader ran a 30.2. Everyone else not even managing to come close to breaking that. So, yeah, as we're saying, Sturgis, he ended up qualifying well in the back of the field in 28th position. I mean, it's not super in the back of the field, but it is for him. As Ryan Lowe, the number 7 car, also looking to go on the inside of Jake Sturgis. So both the Sturgis brothers involved in some action here on this track. And yeah, these guys, they seem to be evolving a line. And let's not forget, though, this track is rubbering in. These tires, they're wearing so much, and because of how much rubber they are putting down on this racing surface. So not only is this track taking away from their tire wear, but it's going to be constantly evolving. And if you're not paying attention, you're not trying different lines, you might open yourself up later.
Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, lead change. The number 34 of Matt Busa under attack by that one of Ryan Luza. Got a good look to the inside. Wasn't able to get around him quite yet. But on the doorstep, he sits. Doesn't go low, though. All the way up to that outside fence, very early into the corner. And you see they dive back down about halfway from the center off. And Matt Busa continues to lead this race. But Ryan Luza tucked up behind him, getting set to apply the pressure.
Yeah, while that was going on, we had some problems in the back for the 47 of Chris Overland. Was running in the top 10. He got up into the wall in turns 1 and 2. That sent him down quite a few spots. We'll keep an eye on him, but he's going to drop like a rock right now, all the way back to 22nd spot as the battle keeps heating up. How about some free wide action coming off of turn number 2 right now? The 78 involved the 74, Taylor Hurst. And you got PJ Sturgis right there as well with Michael Conti, another one of those drivers, started 30th. He's trying to crack the top 10 before halfway.
And there's so many battles going on track, you can snap your head back forwards. Just had some side-by-side inside of the top 10 with the 27 of Cody Bias and the 2 of Ray Alfala. They're actually closing in on Busa and Luza 1-2 as they battle. They're not side by side, so they're not losing that much time, but you can definitely tell that Matt Busa's keeping a half eye on that rearview mirror, and Ryan Luza is trying to find a way around the 34. And once you start to dance with somebody, your mind kind of wanders from those guys behind you. Cody Bias, only 0.4 of a second off, could easily make this a 3-car battle for the race lead, as now have 50 laps complete.
Yeah, 50 laps just like that. We have had those 2 cautions, which slowed us down for a little bit, but for the most part, they've been mostly single-car affairs. As Ryan Michael Luza, he's on the inside, that number 1 Ford Fusion pulling on the inside of that Toyota Camry. As also Cody Bias, he is definitely running deep into these corners and swinging way out. He wants to get his Chevrolet involved in this. So almost looking like they wanted to try to go 3 wide across the start-finish line. Obviously, the speed's nowhere near allowing them to be able to do that. But for Matt Busa, not as much speed as he had that first stint, as Ryan Michael Luza and Cody Bias's cars seem to be coming into their own, and they are closing in on that number 34.
27 going to go to the inside, side by side for second. Not sure how good of a run Cody Bias is going to get, though, coming off the quarter number 4. Definitely more banking topside, more of a run, and Lewis is going to be able to get back by him, slot down in front, and remain clear. As we keep an eye on this battle for the race lead, able to remind you that this portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Peak Antifreeze and Coolant, the official antifreeze of NASCAR, and a proud sponsor of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing. That 27 going back down to the inside continues to try to make that line work. I think the top side, though, just the better place to be right now.
Yeah, definitely the better place to be coming off the corner. Like we mentioned before, the momentum is just what allowing these drivers to keep that. We're seeing side-by-side action all over this racetrack right now, up in the top 5, up in the top 10. I mean, it's just everywhere right now as you see a couple of drivers struggling with the bottom side, the 42 to be exact. Dylan Duvall struggling on that bottom side, and then you see other guys making the top side work, like PJ Sturgis, Michael Conti. They're making that top lane work, and they're getting passes done, and they're moving up through the field rather quickly here as they both of those drivers break into the top 10.
Michael Conti started this race in 30th position, just got edged out at the start-finish line that time by Christian Challoner for that final spot top 10. Look at the 40 machine coming up as well. Jimmy Mullis, somebody else who has made their way through this race. PJ Sturgis, the name that noted not all that long ago, started 28th position, has passed 20 cars, and runs an 8th at the moment. He was 6th in warm-up, so he's one of those guys, Cam, that falls into the category I was talking about earlier, but contact off of 4. Taylor Hurst into the outside wall. He drops about 25 miles an hour. Everybody going to be able to snake on by, but contact between he and Challoner put him up into the fence, and he's got some good right-side damage now as he falls into a hornet's nest, the 3 wide in the pack as they try to get around him.
great heads up from the rest of the field, I have to say. Yeah, Taylor Hurst and Christian Chalner, they ended up just making that contact. The cars slid up to the inside. Actually, Michael Conti, a great save. He got quarter paneled, and he managed to keep his number 5 in a straight line. And yeah, Taylor Hurst slid well back, probably losing some 20 positions, I'd have to say, with just a rough guess, but he managed to slide in with Brian Blackford and Joe Lotterillo. And if it wasn't 20 positions, it sure felt like it, I'm sure, for Taylor Hurst. But we got to see what that car is doing, how it's doing. It's well loose coming off of 2. I think he's got to pull that into the pits. It looks like it's got suspension damage.
He is very slow still on the inside of the racetrack. Down in corners 3 and 4, he's fallen to 25th position. Still going to stay out on track, though. I'm sure that team is hoping for a quick caution. Back to PJ Sturgis that I was talking about, though. Talked earlier on about guys who really don't get a good qualifying effort but have cars to make up for that. I think that's PJ Sturgis without a doubt. He's worked his way into the top 10. He's up 20 positions so far to this point, and he's not the only guy who's making moves. I threw out a couple of other names, Michael Conti in that mix. How about Dylan Duval, Adam Gilliland, and one of our bigger movers as well, Alan Bowes, 40th to 14th position, still shy of the halfway point. So these guys really getting the job done early as we see side by side again for the race lead. Lusa to the outside of the racetrack this time as Busa ends up on the bottom. They'll be side by side off of quarter number 2, and I think that run down the Nellis straightaway might just be enough for Ryan Lusa. Be topside, though, down at this end of the track in 3 and 4, and I think he will get it off of the corner. Yes, sir. New race leader, Ryan Lusa.
Yeah, back to the race lead, about the same as the last run. It took almost to the full run for the one to get around. We saw him challenge a little bit more for that as this run did go on about 10 laps ago, but he finally forced his way to that top side on the front stretch. That gave him the advantage through turns 1 and 2, and finally gets the lead and starts to pull away now. There's the 27 of Cody Bias. He wants second. He dives to the inside now in 3 and 4. Top side, though, momentum for Boost is going to keep him in second.
Bias going to hold the inside of the racetrack. It was interesting that Lusa was trying to make the passes on the bottom, and when Busa was topside, it appeared that he had the better lane. They ended up switching lanes, and when Lusa had the top, got the job done on the outside of the racetrack. We see the battle for second. Bias on the bottom, Busa on the outside of the racetrack, and again, the outside, just the better place to be so far. 34 with the advantage. That 27, though, going to go all the way down to the bottom, trying to sweep up in front of the nose off the corner. Just can't get the bite. That time about half a car length short.
Yeah, and well, meanwhile, while all that action is going on, Taylor Hurst, he ended up tail sliding at about 100 miles an hour, starting to get into pit lane. He got it wound down, but that car, not a healthy car at all. He tried to pull into his pit stall, ended up actually hitting his inside pit wall in, for lack of a better word, blowing his engine. So the day for the 74 car is certainly done, as it is lying there smoking on pit lane. Meanwhile, though, this battle between Lusa and Busa is obviously well and done, and Cody Bias now have gotten ahead of Matt Busa. I'm almost wondering perhaps if Busa has ended up using his tires, which would be fairly interesting, Evan, seeing as he was the leading car. I wouldn't expect the leading car to have used his tires. I figured it would be the other way around. The cars chasing him down would have used his tires, but I think we've seen Lusa definitely has a long run set up.
I think knowing that Lusa was on the bumper and kind of in the back of his mind, he knew that on the last run Lusa caught up to him. Might have subconsciously convinced that Busa to push it just a little bit more and wear out those tires. And, maybe Lusa was a little bit more patient and kind of knew that, give 20 laps on a run, then he'll slowly start to come back to him. There's also the other possibility that right now the number 1 is just better than the 34, and that's something that you're going to have to work on as the night goes on, try to get that car a little bit better on the long run. But you can still see that these guys take vastly different lines. You're either on that white line or you're halfway up the racetrack. Pit stops, though, going to be a thing now as we cycled all the way through a fuel run almost to this point. Nobody from the top 10 quite yet, but guys there on back talking about coming in.
Yeah, 30 to 35 laps is about what you're going to see these drivers get, not so much on a fuel run, but on a tire run. And that's what you see right now, the 04 of Derek Bordeaux. Obviously, the problems early on, that big save he had off of turn number 2 has set him back. He was 25th before he pit, so you got a short pit. If you're that far back, this is a way to make up some ground, and then what you hope for is it all cycles through. You gain about 5 to 10 spots, and then hopefully you get one of those yellow flags, which then helps you and gets you a little bit of track position, put you all back on the same sequence as far as tires go. but we'll see how it all shapes out here as our leaders continue to stay out on the racetrack, and Luza continues to pull away now from Cody Bias.
Yeah, biggest gap I think we've seen for anybody in the number one spot all night long. It has grown to 0.8 of a second. And Matt Busso over the radio says that he will be in this time. Does that kind of tip off Ryan Luza to come down pit road? It does. Here comes the one with a big slide, though. Luza out of control. And I think somehow he got it down to 50 miles an hour.
This pit entry is a tough one. You're going way off the banking, and you have got to get on it. He was completely sideways. I know I've seen quite a people dumping sideways. He did make the commitment cone, too. Very impressive, as we're getting a replay right now of that pit entry. That was absolutely wild. Normally you wouldn't see a rear quarter panel like that and that wide out unless you're on a dirt track or something, but he's managed to wrangle it back in. That number 1 Ford Fusion is able to safely bring it down to the correct speed limit, which of course here at Las Vegas it is 50 miles an hour. So now they're all getting their service and will be coming back out on this hot racetrack. We're still running strong here. Very split strategy between pits and non-pits.
That's just good driving, hanging on to that thing. He was about an inch off of the commitment cone. He's going to be able to get back out on track. Not the best execution of a trip down to the pit lane, but might just work out in the end. Very rarely do you see your race leader short pit, quote unquote, but once the leader does come down, that's basically when everybody else flocks to pit road. PJ Sturgis, who assumed the race lead, comes down pit road. You've got everybody down pit road now, and this cycle may be done at about 3 or 4 laps just because of how everybody reacts to fresh tires. Just for perspective, Ryan Luza, fresh tires, back out on the racetrack this time by. We'll await to see what kind of lap that number 1 machine puts down. But your race leader at the moment, who has yet to pit, is Josh Berry. He put down a 31.7 the last time by. He is going to stay out one more time and not come down to the pit lane. So you've got that compared to a 29.6 of Ryan Luza. So you're talking about 2 seconds per lap on fresh tires. Staying out there for much longer I don't think it's going to help you much.
No, it's not going to help you much. And I'm just watching a battle on the racetrack that just happened too. How about Ray Alfalla just got around 34 on the racetrack at speed. So Ray Alfalla, obviously maybe a little bit of change there, maybe a different pace being set for Ryan Busa right now is just the fact that he maybe saw that he was getting his tires worn out too quickly in the run, so he decided to set back just a little bit here. But right now he'll just sit in the tire tracks as we wait for everything to cycle through. Still a bunch of drivers out on the racetrack that have not made their pit stop. Of course, one of those we talked about making an early pit stop. Derek Bordeaux, he came in 25th, right now showing 9th on the lead lap. That's exactly what he wanted with the short pit.
Almost everybody cycled through now. Lose it back up into the number 6 position. That time by at the start-finish line up to 4th. So we simply await Josh Berry in the 88, Chris Shearburn in the 35, and Michael J. Johnson in the 39 to come down to pit road. Other than that, everybody has completed or is currently completing their service. And I'll tell you what, for that big slide the number 1 had, we were complimenting his 0.8 of a second gap, which was the biggest we had seen all race long to that point. Well, the gap's now 3 seconds, so Matt Busa didn't fare much better off on his trip down to the pit lane. He was only 0.8 off. He's about 0.5 of a second off now, and it didn't look like a bad pit stop, just had some issues cycling through traffic, dropping him to 8th at the moment, which will put him about P5 once everybody pits.
Yeah, last couple of times by Ryan, Michael Luza was a 29.8, whereas Matt Busa was he was also a 29.8, but it was a 29.830. But you start looking at, I think, with how Luza made his way through lap traffic, he was really scything through those racing cars left, right, both inside and outside, I guess it would be, as he was cruising through. And I wouldn't be that surprised if perhaps the other cars got a little stuck behind, just coming out a slightly different. Their pit times were relatively similar. It was a 14.9 versus a 14.8 for Ray Alfalla. And Matt Busa, this perhaps is where the time is dropping off. He had a 16.1 compared to Ryan Luza's 14.9. Perhaps that is where that time is coming from. But Ryan Michaeluza completely by himself here at Las Vegas.
He's got a good gap, and in fact, Michael J. Johnson, who again has yet to come down to pit road, is about to be passed by Ryan Lewis. It takes about 30 seconds and change to actually get down from speed, drive down to the pit lane, get into the box, get the service done, get back out there. There goes the number 1 machine topside. So when you get passed by the leader who's already pitted, I think you kind of know that your staying out strategy is not working to the effect that you want it to. Now he only falls to 4th, and for somebody who started in 35th, and I guess this can apply to Chris Shearburn too, who started 41st, I guess you're staying out, Andy, to hope maybe catch a caution flag, gain some spots?
Yeah, that's exactly what guys like Josh Berry, Chris Shearburn, Michael Johnson are doing right now, is they're getting their full amount of fuel out of this thing. They're losing tons of time, and the only way this is not going to work is if it stays green. It stays green, these guys will pit, they'll find themselves lapped down, and it's just going to snowball from that point on. So it's a tough gamble. It's a hard gamble to swallow, especially when it doesn't go your way. But when you're not having the best of race, you got to try something to get yourself that track position. And for Chris Shearburn, Michael Johnson, this is what they had to do starting deep in the field here tonight. You look at other drivers that made the short pit call. Derek Bordeaux, currently 7th, about to lose that to Matt Busa for that 8th spot. We got Cody Bias right there as well, too. So Derek Bordeaux, it's working for him. He came in 25th. He's going to be at least pretty close to the top 10 here. When everything starts to flow through, Evan, this is where you're going to see it make up. He'll make up about 10 to 15 spots from where he was, and this is exactly what he needed to make up from that mistake early on.
Meanwhile, all of the mayhem on the racetrack continues as you have guys with fresh tires, guys with old tires, all trying to find themselves back in line in the correct order. Still, just those 4 drivers are now coming down to 3 who have yet to come down to the pit lane. Battle back at about 15th spot, side by side with Timmy Hill and Jimmy Mullis. However, you can tell the field has really started to spread out, Cam, because these guys now 21 seconds and change off P1.
Yeah, I think that pit call was extremely smart. He managed to make a couple of laps. Ryan Luza did on his fresh boots while everyone else was waiting to come in. Jimmy Mullis now, they are going past your car that's just now cycling well back. That is, of course, Michael J. Johnson. He is now far back, probably somewhere 15, 16, 17 position. So obviously that strategy going bust here at Las Vegas, which is not a surprise. But Jimmy Mullis, I know, sorry puns. Jimmy Mullis, though, he did have a fairly decent run himself as he was racing with Timmy Hill. Actually, he's managed to pull ahead and now is fighting with Michael Conti. But then you've got Dylan Duval, Alan Bowes. Timmy Hill has fallen back quite a bit. Zach Novak is also there. So these guys are all still staying in that pack. Timmy Hill, though, started 22nd. He's up to 17. Alan Bowes, once again, 40th position. He's running in 16th. So quite a couple of different stories here. Some people are staying right where they are. Some people absolutely charging through this field.
Booz has made his way all the way back up into the number 2 spot because the only holdout, Josh Berry, he has now just come down to the pit lane. He will be serviced at lap number 82. A pretty good discrepancy between the first cars down pit road and the last cars down pit road on this cycle of service, but that finally puts that number 1 back into P1, and Ryan Luza assumes a 3.6 second lead over Bobby Zelensky, the guys who run 1-2 right now. That's the way they came home in the Pro Series points to make themselves into this series, both as rookies.
Yeah, both those drivers getting the job done on the pit stops, coming down just a couple laps, and you can see what that couple of laps did for Ryan Luza. The spread, 3.8 to Ray Alfala, Matt Busa, who was the leader, 4.4 back now off the race lead, and that was just because of a couple laps out on those older tires. As we see the 88 starting to blend back in here, he's going to fall in line right behind Logan Clampett. He'll be a lap down, though, unfortunately, but with these fresh tires, we'll see how quickly he can get around that leader.
Got that 2 machine Ray Alfala also, who came charging up to get that number 2 spot away from Bobby Zelensky. And again, the guys who pitted a little bit later lost time through the cycle, but have a little bit better tires. Not sure if that's a fair trade-off. 3 laps at about 6 seconds of coming in a little bit later in exchange for 3 lap better tires, but they will have that small advantage at this point in the race. You see the 35 working by your leaders. That's no longer for position, though, because Shearburn has pitted. He is 35th and the first driver 1 lap down as he tries to work his way by Alfala and Zelensky. Busa in that 34 machine, not all that far back and forth either.
You can just see how much that nose of the Chevrolet of Josh Berry drags into the corner. He's able to hold on to that grip. He's now on the outside, or on the inside of Zelensky. And Matt Busa, yeah, goodbye. He's already pulled well away. But the problem is, though, even if they run just a second difference in lap time, it's not going to last to make up that time. He's not going to be able to circle around the track and make up that time. So Josh Berry all the way back in 36. It was a fair gamble, I have to say. You do kind of run with it here. We've seen a lot of different strategies. I remember Phoenix last season went green all the way, and we saw a lot of different strategies try and pay off. But here it just doesn't look like this is going to be Josh Berry's day, or Chris Shearburn's, David Rattler's, or Trey Edson's. I think all four of them trying to do that long run. And end up just not paying off. But for Ryan Luza, though, I have to say, coming in a couple of laps early has extremely paid off. He had a great exit, and he is completely by himself. Almost a 4-second gap between him and Ray Alfala.
And this time around, he's going to complete 87 of the 167 laps on the board tonight. With that, we have crossed the halfway point in tonight's Las Vegas 250. Let's take this opportunity to take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and more. With 87 laps down and 80 laps to go, Ryan Luza is your race leader, running in front of Ray Alfala and Bobby Zelensky inside of the top three. Pole sitter Matt Busa fell to fourth through that exchange of pit stops, and it may fall to fifth because Cody Bias, who was P5 the last time by, making a move up the inside, down in 3 and 4. Logan Clampett running well in the number 6 position just behind him. PJ Sturgis plus 21 spots to run in 7th. Marcus Richardson has fallen back a little bit. He rides inside of the top 10 at 8th position. Christian Challoner behind him in 9th. Derek Bordeaux rounds out your top 10.
Jimmy Mulis, that number 40 car, he started the day in the 20th position. He's up to 11th, only 8.9 seconds off your race leader, Michael Conti. He's currently running in 12th. He started in 30th position. And then behind him, you got Alan Bose, who started in 40th. So the cars that started 20th, 30th, and 40th, 11, 12, 13. Adam Gilliland, he's running in the 14th position. Dylan Duval, he is currently in 15th. Zach Novak in 16th. Nolan Scott and Brian Blackford are fighting for 17th position. And Joe Lodoretto, he's in 19th. And then Kenny Humpy, he is in 20th with a lot of cars running behind him.
Timmy Hill in the number 4 currently runs in that 21st spot. 22nd goes to Brad Davies. Chris Overland hits the wall about 50 or so laps ago. He runs 23rd. 24th right now, Ryan Lowe. Philip Diaz will run in the 25th spot. 26th goes to Kyle Putz. Jake Sturgis will run 27th. 28th currently is Casey Tucker. Corey Vincent started outside of the front row. He is currently 29th. And 30th is Blake Reynolds.
Continuing on down through the field, 6 more drivers scored on the lead lap. Andrew Fayash the third, Jake Nichols and Brandon Schmidt 31st, 32nd, and 33rd. 34th is Josh Berry, and 35th Chris Shearbird. Michael J. Johnson in at number 36 spot, just coming back down to pit road. He was that final driver on the lead lap, trying to get some damage repaired. 2 more drivers are running 1 lap down, and I think that David Rattler is going to assume the lucky dog spot. He will, as he jumps up to 36th position. Trey Edson is 37th, and about Michael J. Johnson trickles to 38th spot. Other than that, nobody else on the racetrack. The final 4 drivers behind the fence in this one, their nights are done. Taylor Hurst coming home 39th, Nicholas Johnston in 40th, Mitchell Hunt 41st, and Byron Daly in 42nd. This has been a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com and sign up today. And as we do work ourselves into the second half of this race, this segment of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Herculiner Truck Bedliners, the official bedliner of NASCAR.
Well, absolutely, and just speaking of all the great features that iRacing has, let's not forget, there was just a little bit of a whisper on the winds almost. I'm hearing March 29th is when the next chapter of iRacing's running is going to be. We're going to get some dirt racing, and it is definitely going to be a fun one. I personally can't wait. I know a lot of these guys can't wait themselves, but gotta say, though, dirt racing may be fun, but this run here at Las Vegas is definitely a good one.
Just looking to see if anybody's making their way through the pack, keeping an eye on these intervals. Nothing really changing between 1 and 2. Ray Alfalla got that spot away from Baez pretty quickly after we completed our cycle of service and was able to jump back up to that number 2 spot, the highest he has been all night long. Baez still back there in 3rd. Zelensky has now fallen to 4th, and now 5th. Logan Clampett, 44 Chevrolet, up the inside that time. He'll take over 4th, and I don't think the 83's got any water wings on because he might continue to sink. The 57 of PJ Sturgis right there. The 34 of Matt Busa right there as well. He's going to have his hands full.
Yeah, Matt Busa continues to lose spots here as this run goes on. Not so sure if that car just doesn't run well in dirty air, but for whatever reason, maybe the changes they made on the pit stop just not helping that car at all. After running first, dominating the early portion of this race, he now finds himself still falling back through the clutches of the field. Marcus Richardson, the next one on the list, as you see the 57 of PJ Sturgis start make his move around Bobby Zielinski. He'll get that spot at the line as they continue side by side into one.
In the inside of the racetrack, and he will get clear as they head back down off to 1 and 2. So Zelensky going to fall another one now down to the number 6 spot. Busa, as I noted right there, not all that far back. Marcus Richardson, and so on and so forth. And when we say these guys are spread out, they are. There's a 4-second gap between 1 and 2, but the guys inside the top 10 really aren't that far apart. You got Alfalla and Baez within half a second of each other. You've got Clampett, Sturgis, Zelensky, and Busa within 0.6 of a second of each other. So while they may not be side by side, these battles definitely continue to go on inside the top 10.
Yeah, and we're still seeing some good, some fairly good runs here. I think a lot of the yet another green flag run is that makes me very happy to see green flag running and launching the battle between the number 47 of Chris Oberlin and Philip Diaz, the number 94 Jake Sturgios, not that far behind. Corey Vincent, though, he is not having the day that he wants. He started in the 2nd position in that Herculine or Chevrolet. He's back down into 26, 15 seconds off your race leading cars. And Philip Diaz, he actually has had something go on. He just dropped about half a second off of the rear of Jake Sturgios and Chris Oberlin. That could just be the tires and him taking a line that wasn't advantageous. But I think these guys, the tires are starting to wear off to the point, Evan, that they are going to be starting to either look to come down pit road, or they're going to start looking to get a little loose.
And that makes sense with the strategy. Lap number 100 in the works right now, Andy, and rated about that 30 laps and some change range with 67 laps to go. I think the strategy really has to be for most guys is pit now and then pit in maybe 35 laps. Unless we see some of the guys who really pushed it on that other one. Do you think they might be able to do this on a one-stop, or do we think everybody's going to have to go 2 as Ryan Luza comes in first from the top spot?
Whoa, and a tough job getting into pit road. Almost Ryan Luza-esque right there for the 2 of Ray Alfalla. The 83 having some problems getting on the pit road as well. But just as you mentioned it, the leader's heading down pit road here. It's one of them things. I think with that long run, you're definitely going to see some of those drivers maybe try this on one more stop. You'll see guys, that's the only way it's going to work for guys like the 88. I think it was a 35 of Chris Shearburn as well too. That's the only way that their strategy is going to work, is if they make it on one more stop to the end of this thing. So we'll see what they do. Obviously, they just came down to pit road about 10 or 15 laps ago, so they're going to still stay out on the racetrack, which will take quite a bit of time before we'll see it cycle back over to Ryan Luza, who just went out. Good 4-tire stop, and he'll keep his advantage on Ray Alfalla after that pit stop.
Baez stayed out 1 extra lap, so he's in this time. We'll see if he's going to be able to make anything up. I don't think a 4-second gap, though, is going to be something that you can get just simply on the pit lane. Something else that we have to talk about, you've seen just how many close calls we've had on pit road as PJ Sturgis slides it in this time. As the issue is when you dive down to the pit lane, there's a relatively sharp break from 12 degrees to flat, and that's right where you have to get on the binders, and we got a really good look at it on that first trip down to the pit lane when we saw that big slide from Luza on board, where you get on the brakes there and the back end of that car just slides right out, and everybody's struggling with it, but so far no major issues getting on the pit road as far as guys ending up in the grass.
Yeah, and we've seen quite a couple of times people just dip that nose, and once the car levels off, and immediately starts losing the rear. And once they start losing the rear, if they don't collect it, it's easy to get away and get on the infield grass or kill the commitment cone and end up getting a penalty. As just watching the cars, we're at that fairly dangerous time once again, though, Evan, where you've got cars that are super quick now, that are almost in a different class, now running alongside, passing very quickly on the outside, on the inside, swerving back and forth between cars, where they're on brand new tires, passing cars on very old tires. And that could definitely present challenges. A couple more stragglers coming down pit road, but I think for this point, though, we are up to 28 cars now, 27 cars, excuse me, on the lead lap.
We're going to have a handful of them here and there fall off of the lead lap through the cycles. Now, Josh Berry, who was the last holdout from that most previous cycle to green flag service, is now once again one of the last guys hanging out up front. He's got himself up in the race lead, and Chris Shearber not all that far behind in second, but you can see these leaders, the guys who were leading before pit stops began, just absolutely hauling the mail to get on by with those fresh tires. Again, about 2 seconds plus the difference between old and new tires, and the only benefit, again, that I could possibly think of for the 88 still stayed out, Andy, is if he's trying to stretch this and eliminate a stop from the strategy compared to these other guys. How far do you think he'd have to make it, though, to be able to get to 167? It just seems like too long to me.
It does, but it's just one of those things. He's going to have to probably come in the next 20 laps, somewhere in that area, to make it about a 40 to 45 lap run at the end. That's going to give him a fighting chance, but you look at the times right now, he's only 11 seconds ahead of Ryan Luza this time, where last time it was 25 plus seconds, I believe it was, almost a full lap. So definitely the time has gone down quite a bit, but when you look at it, he's only got to make one more stop. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but I'll tell you what, if I was one of these guys, I'd rather the fresh tires and go fast, I'll tell you that.
It is probably the most treacherous point on the racetrack, because, Cam, you just talked about when you got guys going this fast and guys going very slow, the closing rates just lead to a lot of hair-raising moments, and you see that as these guys cycle through, but I think really everybody got down and got out of pit road pretty quickly. I don't think that there's many people waiting besides, obviously, Barry Shearburn, who run 1-2, and maybe a few more guys here and there, but I think that most people are in agreement on what the strategy needs to be tonight.
Yeah, tires definitely the method of the day. We've seen them coming in early. That made me fairly happy. I think these guys, they know, especially at the beginning of this race when they had a couple of cars, well, really just Mitchell Hunt, ended up losing the rear, even though he has not been the only car that's lost the rear. Many others have had very close calls. Bordeaux comes to mind, a couple of others. So I think these guys are starting to respect where these tires need to be and how they need to be treated 109 laps into this 167 lap race. And with that, they're starting to perhaps make their air pressure adjustments with the temperature. I mean, it is actually fairly cool for a Las Vegas day. It's 67 degrees Fahrenheit, 96 degrees on the track surface. But it's still to say that these tires are wearing off very quickly. They got to adapt to it.
Next time around, we're going to have 110 laps complete tonight from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Only one pit stop to go, and it almost felt like getting through that whole last cycle took just about as long as the green flag run in between, so there's not a lot of time left in this race. Again, 250 miles is a long way to go here at a 1.5 mile track. Takes a little bit longer to get around this kind of a place compared to when you're doing it at 199, maybe 200 miles an hour on the plate tracks, but 57 laps to go that time by, and Luza doesn't appear to be struggling. The gap has remained constant. In fact, it looks like he may have picked up 0.6 of a second over Ray Alfala, trying to stretch that gap to 5 seconds. I think it's at about 4.7 right now as they run in third and fourth on the racetrack. So unless you're hoping on that one to maybe make a mistake on a green flag pit stop, then Ray Alfala is going to have to start hoping that he gets a yellow or two in here so that this thing gets fun.
Yeah, you definitely, or that final pit stop, he's gonna have to maybe pit a lap or two before Ryan Luza to get close, and then it's just going to be a matter of who's got the willpower and the guts to get that thing to stick in those closing laps to see if they can hang on to the lead. But it's going to be interesting to call here because Ryan Luz is starting to close in now on the leader. He just got around Chris Shearburn through 1 and 2, and now closes the door under a second and a half from Chris Shearburn from the Josh Berry in that 88 machine here in 3 and 4, and he's going to get him here probably before turn 1 as they close off. Only about 4 car lengths, make it 0 now. Side-by-side battle, not so much a battle. Ryan Luz back to the point.
88 knew it stayed high, waved him on by, and Ryan Luz going to go back to the race lead at lap number 114. And again, the incentive for Barry, Shearburn, and anybody else who may be on their strategy mixed in with everybody else back in the pack is stay out, hope for a yellow. And you might not be as good as, Ryan Luz is on fresh tires, but restarting in second is going to help a lot when it comes to the long-term stability of this one. But again, Josh Berry started in 8th spot, had a great starting position, so the 88 machine has kind of found himself in this strategy, and the fact that we have been green for so long now through 2 cycles of green flag service, I think he's kind of stuck with committing to this strategy and going down with it if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, I do have to say I applaud it. I love seeing different strategies in a race, especially here on the 1.5 miles, because we do run them fairly frequently, enough to the point to where people can really say, okay, I really want to give it a try, as we're looking right now at the battle for position number 5, Bobby Zelensky. He's been up front pretty much all day. I haven't really talked about him that much, except for in passing, fighting with Cody Bias right now. He's managed to defend against Cody Bias's Chevrolets. Cody way up against the wall. Bobby Zelensky, he is comfortable on that middle of the road line, but Cody Bias, he gets the overshoot. He tries to go to the inside line, but I don't think it's going to work on these old tires. Bobby Zelensky should be able to just get the acceleration coming off of the corner, as yes, he absolutely will. They both get a little loose though coming off of 4, and I think we're starting to see that already. I'm just shocked almost, Evan, at how fast these tires are starting to wear off, to where these drivers really got to start putting in inputs.
Watching that 27 Bias try to get to the outside of Zelensky. It's something that we talked about, that we have talked about a lot tonight. The inside versus the outside, and top has appeared to be better down in 1 and 2 at least. In 3 and 4, I think you can do either or, but the advantage of those extra degrees of banking really helps you get a run off of the corner, and that's going to keep the 83 down in front of the 87 for the time being. So it's funny having that inside wide open. If Cody Bias wants to go low, he can go low. Nobody's preventing him from going down to the inside of the racetrack, but he's actually trying to find a way to the outside there and squeeze up between the 83 and the fence, and it's kind of amusing to see the 27 try to get that job done.
Yeah, it is. Almost going 3 wide there as Alfala gets around Josh Berry, too. And Chris Shearburn basically just a sitting duck here as the rest of the field coming through. PJ Sturgis, Boost is coming through. You got Logan Clampett there, as well as the 24, I believe, laps down there. He has just come off pit road. He's got fresher tires, so he's going to try to stake his way through these guys as well. So the pit strategy, although it's a different one for Josh Berry, if you look at it, when everybody pitted on lap 100 or around that area, like the leaders Ryan Luz and Ray Alfala did, Josh Berry, took about 15 laps for him to be caught by Ryan Luz. Is it a race strategy? Maybe not, but for Josh Berry, by the time this thing ends, it could end up giving him a top 5.
You can see almost using some of these other cars as a pick, the 88 up against the outside of the fence. The 83 stays nice and tight to him, and he's got a big run this time down the back, and again, just didn't do anything with it. Could have gone low, did not, and now he has to be careful because trying to make this, not that he's trying to, I guess, make it the pass pretty on the 27, but really trying to get to the top and not going to the inside. He's tried it a couple of times. It's just not working out for him. He's got to be careful because PJ Sturgis now right there with an opportunity to do something.
Yeah, and for PJ Sturgis, what a run he has had. Started in 28th, but as we said, he's running where his speed was in warm-up. I mean, earlier on, he was in warm-up running the 6th fastest. So PJ Sturgis, he's running on the inside now of Bobby Zelensky. Bobby Zelensky, who ended up losing that position to Cody Bias eventually. Looking a little bit forward, though, Trey Edson, the number 24 car, he is running in 38th position, but his lap times, well, he's just gone past Ray Alfalla. Obviously, new tires on that number 24. We'll see how Trey is going to be doing later on in the race. But for Cody Bias and PJ Sturgios, they've gotten past Bobby Zelensky. That 83 car just slides a little bit back. But for PJ Sturgios, what a run he is putting together here in Las Vegas.
It is quite the night, and again, you have to think he was P6 in warm-up. What if he qualified in that number 6 spot? Passing 24 cars from starting in 28th, might have just had a car to get to the top spot. Last lap for your race leader, Ryan Luza, a 31 flat. PJ Sturgis, a 30.8. He has the fastest car on the racetrack, but the problem is, sure, he's made up incredible amounts of ground on the racetrack, and he's looking to make a move for third as he closes in on Cody Bias, but he's 7.7 seconds back, and with just a little bit over 40 laps to go, Andy, I don't care how fast you are, I don't think you're going to make up 7.6 seconds on Ryan Luza. So that kind of tells you just how critical qualifying is in this series.
Yeah, qualifying is very important. Starting up front, you have a tendency to finish up front, barring any miscues or issues on the racetrack as far as accidents or sliding through your box on pit road. Qualifying is very important in a series like this. When you got this amount of drivers that are of equal or about the same caliber, it's just incredible how much these things mean. You look at a guy like Derek Bordeaux, who was running up towards the front, had that issue, fell all the way back to 25th. But look at his strategy. It's got him close to a top 10. So, and I'll tell you what, he's probably working the hardest on that car all night long, just trying to recover from that mistake that happened on lap number 1. So, I mean, that happened earlier on in the race. So he had plenty of time to do this, but it wasn't enough time to get him up to a top 5 or even an opportunity to win, to repeat like last week. But definitely an opportunity to make up some spots and give himself a good opportunity for a good finish.
With 41 laps to go, PJ Sturgis has completed that pass on Cody Bias. He is now inside of the top 3 for the first time tonight. That other interesting note about Josh Berry that we were talking about for staying out so long is the fact that trying to eliminate an entire pit stop just came down to the pit lane. 41 laps to go, might just be able to make it to the end, and that could completely change our thoughts on this race. Ryan Luza, probably knowing not much about it unless his spotter's been keeping an eye, thinking at least at this moment with the 6.2 second gap over Ray Alfalla that it's all but his.
Yeah, and Josh Berry, he's zipping by cars, I'd say left and right, but he's sticking to the inside, at least going through the front tri-oval. But for Josh Berry, I gotta say, he's definitely staying committed. I think we've seen over the last season, as he brings it 3 wide, as Chris Overland and Michael J. Johnson are fighting for position, Josh Berry will have them cleared before they even get the entry to 3. What we've seen is that people will try different strategies. What ends up happening about 3/4 of the race through, or whenever there's a caution, they will start to abandon that strategy and just try to salvage what they can. Well, these guys, I have to say, they are sticking with it now. And I'm pretty happy to see that, so we'll see how that plays out, but you got to give it to Ryan Michael Luza, running solo like that, up to 6.2 seconds at the line over Ray Alfalla. And you want to know who's right behind Ray Alfalla? Well, it finished behind him yesterday, not yesterday, but last week at Daytona. It was PJ Sturgios. He's running right behind.
Taking a look, still running with 31 drivers on the lead lap, but over the radio that time, Jimmy Mullis says that he's going to be coming down pit road this time. I believe the driver who runs in the number 8 position, he is coming down pit side. So, with aggressive entry, this means that pit road is open to make it to the end of this race. And the one thing that we were kind of talking about with Ray Alfalla, Andy, is that maybe he has to short pit Ryan Luza. We'll see if that one machine comes down this time, and if not, what the guys behind him do.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Going to have about 37 laps to go here. Josh Berry's got to run about 40 laps to get this thing done. So we'll see what these guys do. You're already seeing a couple of other drivers a little further back outside the top 10. The 21's coming in. Alan Bowes currently running 12th. He's coming into the pit road. He's going to hope that a lap or two is going to give him an advantage, get him up inside that top 10. So we'll have to see what happens. That Corey Vince is going to come down pit road, Michael Conti. So a lot of the drivers just outside the top 10 they're heading down. They're coming in a little bit early, trying the short pit, trying to get whatever they can as far as time or gain anything on the racetrack. This is their chance to do it here as the leaders continue to stay out. Ryan Luza, now the question is, when does he come in? I expect him in the next 5 laps to give it about a 30-lap run to the end.
The waiting game is on. 3 cycles if we make it to that point and then get everybody down pit road and back out in one piece. We've had a couple of close calls tonight, but so far so good. Could be a green flag run, nearly 100 laps through to the end of this race. And as well incorporating in that 3 complete cycles of green flag pit service. Still nothing though. Luza stays out, Alfala stays out, Sturgis, but Bias going to come in from P4. Could be a big play in that battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Yeah, not that far behind is Logan Clampett. Logan Clampett, he had a fairly good run at Daytona, and, well, we'll look to see where he can come with it here today. Coming in from 8th position, started in 14th at number 44, as he gets his tires. Derek Bordeaux, here he comes as well, the 04 getting his service. So we'll see what these guys do. Of course, Cody Bias, he's getting his 4 sets of, his 4 tires get put on. His set of tires are all good, and he is off and away.
Luza going to come in from P1. That means that Ray Alfala follows him in from 2nd. PJ Sturgis going to follow him in from 3rd. And almost everybody else going to come down pit road this time to complete their service on the night. We really haven't seen anybody try to change up the name of the game on pit road. It's been basically 4 tires and fuel for everybody all night long. That not going to change this time. 4 tires for the number 1 Ford.
Yep, 4 tires and out. He's gone. Kenny Humpy, a lap down. He'll be behind him coming out of the pit road. It's just one of those things. You're either like a guy like Ray Alfala to try to make up that time he lost 2 pit stops ago, coming in a lap or 2 after Ryan Luza. He hasn't been able to make that up at all, as you see coming off of turn number 2 now. Here comes the 88. He's going to take over the race lead, at least what would be the race lead from Ryan Luza. Not so much, says Ryan Luza, as he takes that now as he gets that thing up to speed. And now that's going to take the chances of a win away from the 88, at least for now, unless we have a caution. And he finds himself now basically what would be 2nd place.
And that's the thing, is the strategy to an extent worked for Josh Berry, because I think he's going to have enough fuel to make it to the end of this race, Cam, and he cut a stop out of his race compared to everybody else. Only stopped 2 times compared to the 3 on this green flag stretch. But when that takes X amount of time and you lose so much time every single time around that you can eliminate the stop, that's about 30 seconds. But if staying out there an extra 10 laps on old tires is going to cost you more than that 30 seconds, it doesn't work out in the end. And now it's a question of, I just think, how far back Josh Berry falls on disadvantaged tires late in the run.
Yeah, and of course you got to also start wondering just how long it's going to be if there is a late race caution. And perhaps we had just gotten done with not just this pitting with anything like that, but you've got cars on old tires trying to stick it out. It was surrounded by cars with new tires. I mean, we've seen this a couple of times last season where somebody would try to do that, and it always ended up in tears. So hopefully we can completely avoid that this race here at Las Vegas. It has been a beautiful one. I have to say it has been very fun to watch this. A lot of good high sides and low side battling, and we've still got 30 laps to go.
Andrew Fayash is your race leader at the moment. He and Jake Nichols battling for position. Right now it's P1 and P2. And again, it would really be quite the stroke of luck if they were able to get a yellow flag at this point and expect everybody to come back down to pit road to get fresh tires for restart and them to be back up in the mix. But Fayash started 39th, running first at the moment. Jake Nichols with him started 23rd and runs 2nd at the moment. And you can see the speed differential amongst them. Jake Sturgis just powering by from 34th position and 1 lap down, even much faster than these guys on the older tires. And I mean, even if these guys could make it to the end, Luz is still going to catch him with fresh tires. He's only 7 seconds off at the top spot and coming quickly, like we said, at about 2 seconds quicker each time around.
Yeah, he is. I'm looking at a couple drivers we mentioned that came down a little bit earlier than our race leader. How about Jimmy Mullis? How about Michael Conti, currently right now in that 4th and 6th spot, respectively? And I'll tell you what, that may have been a good call, and that's exactly what I was talking about that you would have maybe seen out of Ray Alfalla. Not the case right now. Pit stop cycle still going through right now. Alfalla showing in 9th here. A lot of time to make up right now from Luza. Over almost 6 seconds right now. So he hasn't gained any time, but those other drivers that came down those 2 laps before, they've made up quite a bit of difference.
Conti, who has been able to get himself into that number 2 position in that peak Antifreeze Chevrolet. That car very similar to what you're going to see on track this coming weekend from the Auto Club Speedway in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series with Matt Kenseth, number 20, peak with a partnership for Joe Gibbs Racing for this 2017 campaign. Also want to remind you as we close in on our RaceSpotTV 20 to go that the closing portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Blue DEF, the official diesel exhaust fluid and DEF equipment of NASCAR. Conti's actually making things somewhat interesting right now. It's still at about a 5-second gap. Nothing too interesting as Luza at a very comfortable spot as they run at the moment. That gap could have closed down to 3 seconds now as the scoring cycles through. But here comes Luza. Going to catch up to the number 77 of Andrew Fayash, your current race leader, going to hold the inside. Luza back to P1 as the 77 comes down pit road. That number 1 machine hoping that this holds to the end.
Yeah, getting woed down fairly easily. Andrew Fayash, actually a very tough pit entry. He has to pull in as soon as he gets in. And the rest of the field now storming right on by that number 77. But for Ryan Michaeluza, a very good run for that number 1 car, I have to say. And he's actually lapping cars proper as well as having to deal with that, with the cars that are off strategy. For Ray Alfalla, well, PJ Sturgios is a couple positions ahead, of course. The guys that were down to the wire in the last season's championship, they're only split by Jimmy Mullis and Logan Clampett. Clampett, I'm sure, would love to end up coming home with it today. I just don't think it's in the cards with nearly 23, 24 to go. Ryan Michaeluza, unless something unthinkable happens, I have to say that the pace on that number 1 Ford is absolutely astounding.
3.5 seconds to Conti, 3.8 seconds to Cody Bias. That's actually a pretty good battle going on for the number 2 spot behind them. PJ Sturgis just hanging on 4/10 in front of Logan Clamp at P5. Ray Alfalla's in 6th. Jimmy Mullis is in 7th. We've got Richardson, Zelensky, and Barry rounding out your top 10 as we run through. 22 laps to go from Las Vegas this time by. We have gone nearly 100 laps without a caution flag. You don't want to see it late. If you are Ryan Luza, if you're everybody else, you're kind of crossing your fingers, hoping that you get something that'll bring you back into this thing, because at this point, that 1 machine is not looking back.
No, he's not looking back at all, and he's doing exactly what he did during the Pro Series this winter, Evan, at these 1.5-mile tracks. I mean, just total domination once he's taken that lead. The pit strategy has been spot on. We saw him get on pit road, very rough one time, but he was able to get the car slowed down enough to not get a speeding penalty, and he has just been spot on. Everything about the race, no mistakes at all, and it's showing right now on the leaderboard.
I believe the stat was 6 wins in 9 starts in that 2016-17 NASCAR iRacing Pro Series. As we take a look at the battle for second right now, Cody Bias going to go up the inside of Michael Conti. Can't make it stick that time, and the 27 going to have to wait to try to give it another go at a lap here or so. But for Luza, the question that we discussed on our NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series preview show here on RaceSpotTV was, he dominated the Pro Series. What can he do at the peak level? Can he continue that kind of run? There is obviously a difference in the talent level, despite the fact that the Pro Series, this year on a new format, rating by iRating, and arguably getting the best drivers on the iRacing service that were not already in this Oval World Championship onto the racetrack. There was a difference coming up to this level, and we questioned just what could Ryan Luza do, and he said that besides Daytona, at the top of the show, I said Daytona's gone. This is where your march towards a chase berth begins. He said, other than Daytona, I expect to win every single week. He's 18 laps away from doing that.
Yeah, and it's been a fairly good run. He had an extremely good run at the sort of the pre-race Daytona, the one that we had to then redo. But Michael Conti, though, he is still fending off Cody Bias there, going back and forth. Cody Bias really comfortable on the inside, even on this this older setting, Michael Conti enjoying that middle of the road. I would call it the typical line now that the track is rubbered in. As they're rolling through right now, going into corner number 1, Cody, he seems to be able to work that inside line. I think that's as close to the inside line as you can get at this point. But overall, he is having a fairly good drag race with Michael Conti for that second position, and then the battle for the final step on the podium. Well, if there was a step on the podium, of course, this is oval racing. We don't do that. But BJ Sturgis and Logan Clampett as well. Here comes Ray Alfala. Very good exit. Coming off of 4, he is now on the attack.
A battle here and a battle there. We've got a lot going on inside of the top 5 for second, for 5th, and a couple of battles further back, maybe for the 8th spot between Jimmy Mullis and Marcus Richardson. And actually, on that note, Marcus Richardson going to make a pass for P8, get around Jimmy Mullis, who's going to fall at 9th.
Yeah, Mullis is going to fall to 9th. That's the older tires talking right there, pitting a little bit earlier than these drivers. He's going to fall back. The one driver that's been able to hang on to is the battle we see for second. Still side by side now as they head into turn number 1. Cody Bias gets the advantage. Does he slide up in front? He keeps it to the bottom. Here comes Conti once again on the outside. Not going to be able to get it finally. Took about 10 laps with Cody Bias now in the second.
Getting the job done, and with that move, Cody Bias to P2 with just 15 laps to go. Something that we were noting in Daytona at that first race was that things were going to change just a little bit between that Daytona race and the following Daytona race, which would actually kick off this campaign, and something that a lot of people don't immediately think of as a challenge, but for those who race on the sim recognizes this sim changes as the season goes on. And we've got the 2017, basically the NASCAR update coming to the surface here in the next build cam, and these cars are going to get the updated aero package and the garage ranges and etc. from these 2017 specs, and it's going to change these cars quite a bit up to the 2017 Monster Energy Cup Series standard.
Absolutely. Of course, the cars that we're watching right now, they are basically the 2016 edition of the NASCAR Cup cars, and they are on their own right, of course, amazing to watch. I mean, look at this battle between Ray Alfala and Logan Clampett, but we are going to, of course, as iRacing, always pushing forward, we'll update to the 2017 NASCAR Cup car, and that will be going with the release of the Dirt build, which is going to be coming March 29th, so not that long from now, almost 1 week away until we're dirt racing, and these Cup guys get their 2017 edition. Logan Clampett on the outside, Ray Alfala on the inside. Of course, the aero completely reworked to represent the 2017 body style and the NASCAR rules package. The suspension completely reconfigured to represent the 2017 NASCAR rules package, and of course these guys are going to have a better time setting up the chassis and setup ranges as well to go completely in with the rules package, so it's going to be a fairly good thing to see. This isn't the first time. Last season we also updated from, of course, up to these cars, and so it's just constantly changing, constantly evolving, and if there's anything I know, these peak Antifreeze drivers are up for it.
Going to keep the guys busy working on the setups and trying to see what they can get away with and what they're going to have to change going forwards. Again, these first 3 weeks are unique because after we get that third race out of the way, which, by the way, as we noted for these opening 3 weeks, is in 1 week's time. Clampett and Alfala make contact in that battle for 5th. Big bobble from both of them, and it's going to end up giving Ray Alfala the spot. Clampett apologizes over the radio. Close call on that one. But after next week at Auto Club, we're going to go back to the every other week format. These first 3 weeks have been pretty chaotic for these teams, trying to build setups at only a week's difference.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure on some of the drivers. Obviously, still running the 2016 specs, it allows them to have a lot of notes from last season to go off of as well, too. So the work really comes in after next week, which good for them as they get that extra week to prepare and to get that setup dialed in with the new spec. So it's going to be interesting to see, if we got the same players at the top of the board when we go to Texas on April 11th, or if we're going to have a whole different crop of guys, whoever figured out the new settings and the new setups, and whoever figures that out. We got a pretty good battle going on for that third spot right now is the 57. Sturgis trying to make that pass. It's taking him a couple laps right now, but it looks like going into turn number 1, they'll finally clear the 5 of Michael Conti. You got a lap car there with fresh tires. You got Ray Alfala trying to get up into the mix as well.
Yeah, the inside has proven not to be the most efficient way to get around, but because of that, Conti's not going to give you the bottom and made the 57 work for it. PJ Sturgis has been able to also take a spot away from that 5 and jump up to that number 3 spot. And for Michael Conti, not all that long ago, we were talking about him running in second until he was passed by Cody Bias. PJ Sturgis has been able to get around a bit, and now Ray Alfalla challenging to the back bumper. Can look to the inside, side by side, with 7 laps to go this time around. Conti trying to hang on to P4.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to work. Ray Alfalla has got a fairly good run going on in Logan Clamp, but I think he has been slowly reeling him in. At the very least, he's staying in tow with Ray Alfalla. Whereas Michael Conti, he's running 31 fines. Ray Alfalla, well, that was a 31.3 that last time by, and even though Michael Conti ran a 31.4, it's not enough. Ray Alfalla will be pushed up into the 4th position. Logan Clampett, he is already starting to lock in. But for Michael Conti, though, it's still a very good day. I mean, you can't be angry when you start your day in 30th position and you end up in at the very most 5th or perhaps 6th. But still a very good day for Michael Conti, as Cody Bias is getting passed by the lap car of Jake Nichols. So as long as they can keep it clean, Cody should be able to contain his position. But pretty much all eyes right now Ryan Michaeluza. I mean, it's been clear all day long that he's got the car to beat, and well, he's proven it.
Yeah, everybody that was holding out hope that a caution might just come out and help him out, that's not going to happen tonight. 5 laps to go this time by at the point of no return. If we do get a caution flag, this race will end at the moment of caution, and we will pace through to the checkered flag. No more, no less laps to the 167. That's the same finish that we saw 1 week ago from Daytona, where Eric Bordeaux made a nice move on Logan Clampett, got to the inside. Caution came out at 3 to go. He was ahead at the moment the yellow light came on, and he ended up taking home the race win in his first ever NASCAR PK Antifreeze Series start, taking home his first career win. Lose it inside of 5 to go with 4 laps remaining that time around.
Yeah, Ryan Luza doing everything he can to just hang on to this thing. Pretty much has it in cruise control now with a 5.5 second gap to him and Cody Bias. And like he mentioned to you, Evan, in the pre-season show, just he expects to come out and win every single race. And I'll tell you what, when you have the confidence like that, when you were able to do what he did in the Pro Series this past winter, it's just it's incredible what he's been able to do. And you know what, it comes down to a lot. I was able to talk to him myself a few weeks ago, and it's just one of those things. You know, these drivers, the setups, they're pretty close. I mean, to a tick here or a tick there difference. Other than that, it all comes down to driving ability, able to save tires. It all comes down to things like that, and Ryan Luza right now showing he is that guy to beat on these intermediate tracks. So we got 5, it looks like, out of fuel. Michael Conti, not what he wanted, out of fuel down the backstretch, wiggling that thing, gave up the spot to Logan Clampett, and that's going to end his night. That top 5 run, top 10 finish is not going to happen for Michael Conti.
He's going to coast into the pit stall. I'm going to wonder if Josh Berrycam's going to have enough to make it around at 2 to go.
Yeah, well, it's surprising that somebody that came in basically with everybody else, I mean, he came into his pit stop, lap 130, he managed to come in. So you got to start looking around. Oh, boy, where did everybody else come into their pit stops? 134 for Ryan Michael Luza, excuse me. So he should be all set as the white flag is in the air. Hopefully Josh Berry does. I will say, though, he's salvaged a fairly decent end at 20th.
Continues to trickle down. Not a problem for Ryan Luza up front. Talking a lot about the rookie class for this season. Got it kicked off 1 week ago with Derek Bordeaux taking home a win in his first career start at Daytona, and Ryan Luza going to get his first career NASCAR PK Antifreeze Series win, that time at a quarter number 4, checkered flag, and the win from Las Vegas. Luza into end pass victory lane, and quite the statement in just his second start on what he expects out of this season. I said it earlier that he told me outside of Daytona he expects to win week in and week out, and he's got the job done here tonight from Las Vegas.
That's exactly what he did. A great run for Cody Bias, too, as well, finishing second. How about PJ Sturgis? We talked about him with his pit strategy. his sheer ability on the racetrack, a fast race car as well, too. A top 3 finish for him after starting 28th. A good top 5 right there for all these guys. Ray Alfalla able to salvage a 4th place after second most of this night. And Logan Clampett able to back up his second place finish last week at Daytona with a top 5 here tonight as well.
Number 1 has some celebrating to do, and how about that? Luza gonna follow up Bordeaux. The Pro Series drivers 2 for 2, Cam, to kick off 2017.
Yeah, not a bad run from the new guys, as both Ryan Michael Luza as well as Derek Bordeaux, they are pure rookies. They've never raced the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series until both Daytona and Las Vegas, and each one of them now have a checkered flag attached to their cars, and they were able to get the victory burnouts. I have to say, congrats to Ryan Michael Luza. I don't think anybody was going to catch him today. It might have been Matt Busa, but even Matt Busa, he finished in 9th.
Let's take a look at tonight's full race results around number 2, top to bottom, before we head trackside and talk to some of your finishers. Ryan Luza was fastest in the warm-up. He started 5th, but it did not take long for him to show that number 1 Ford Fusion was fast. He is your winner tonight from Las Vegas. Cody Bias and BJ Sturgis, your top 3 finishers. Ray Alfalla and Logan Clampett inside of the top 5. We'll try to chat with all of them in just a moment. Christian Challenger comes home with a P6 tonight. Bobby Zelensky comes home top 10 with a 7th place result. Marcus Richardson fell back early and kind of stayed at about that 8th position where he comes home tonight. Your pollster Matt Busa ends up settling for a 9th place result, and Jimmy Mullis rounds out our top 10.
And finishing in 11th position, well, it's Derek Bordeaux after a massive save. He was actually a pretty decent front runner, but a massive push, almost collecting the inside wall, pushed him all back to the 43rd. Well, had to come back to 11th. So good run from Derek Bordeaux. Adam Gilliland coming home in 12th. Zach Novak 13th. Alan Bowes in the 14th position. Dylan Duvall in 15th. Ryan Lowe will come home in 16th position. Brian Blackford, he'll finish in 17th. Joe Letterello will come home in 18th. Corey Vincent and Josh Berry, well, we wanted to see where that strategy comes from. He started at 8th. Well, he'll finish in 20th position.
After problems early for the 47 of Chris Overland, he'll finish in that 21st spot. 22nd goes to Jake Sturgis. Nolan Scott will finish 23rd. 24th goes to Casey Tucker. 25th spot here tonight was Chris Shearburn. 26th to Philip Diaz. Blake Reynolds will finish in the 27th spot. Last car on the lead lap here tonight would be the 11 of Brad Davies in 28th. 29th, 1 lap down, will be Kyle Putz, and also 1 lap down in 30th is Andrew Fayesh.
Quite the group of drivers, 1 lap down that extends all the way from 29th through 37th spot. 31st, Timmy Hill, Kenny Humpy, 32nd, Jake Nichols, 33rd, Michael Conti, 34th, and Trey Edson in 35th tonight as well. David Rattler, Brandon Schmidt, those final 2 drivers who come home 1 lap down. 2 laps down in 38th position, final car running tonight for Michael J. Johnson. The same 4 drivers that were done at the halfway point stayed in those final 4 positions. They weren't able to get back out on track. That includes 39th, Taylor Hurst, 40th, Nicholas Johnson, 41st, Mitchell Hunt, and 42nd, Byron Daly. On top of them all, though, Ryan Luza is a winner. And for the 2nd week in a row, we have a first-time winner at that. In the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing, we'll take this opportunity, step aside for just a brief moment. We will be right back to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway to talk with your top finishers. You're watching RaceSpotTV at iRacingLive. Welcome back live to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the second race of the 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive. We now have two races down, two different winners, both of them drivers from the NASCAR iRacing Pro Series. Backing up a first career win by Derek Bordeaux 1 week ago in Daytona is Ryan Luza, who gets his first career win at iRacing's top oval level tonight. And as he sits at victory lane, we go trackside to talk with the driver of the number 1 machine. Ryan, congratulations. Round number 2. It took you 2 weeks to get the job done, but you are in victory lane in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Congratulations.
Thanks, Evan. That was a blast of a race for sure.
There was a lot of green flag racing there late in this one. Through 3 cycles of green flag pit stops, we saw a couple of guys go for longer runs, take a pit stop out of the equation, but in all honesty, I'd say probably 95% of the guys just agreed on the strategy, and every time you guys were coming down pit road, it was for 4 tires and fuel. So just kind of talk us through pacing yourself and walking to what ended up being a 5.3 second difference at the end.
Really just, keeping the tires on it for the long run, because obviously we had, 4 full, 33 lap runs there at the end. So just keeping the tires on it so we're fast at the end. Moving up was really, really fun, being able to run against the wall like that. Made it really hard to pass, but it was really fun with the dynamic track. That was probably the most fun I've had in a race, even though, it was green like that. We really got to move around and just getting on a pit road, making no mistakes like I have in the past. So I almost messed up on the first pit stop. I was about 45 degrees sideways, but luckily we recovered and didn't look back.
I can promise you we saw that, and there was a couple of cool replay angles of you trying to get that thing slowed down. It worked out in the end. Qualifying was kind of a big thing tonight because somebody else we were following was PJ Sturgis, who came home second, obviously, in this championship a year ago. Started 28th, and at a lot of the times during those green flag runs was about a 10th quicker than you on track, and actually was the fastest car on the racetrack. But you beat him by 6 seconds. You started 5th. He started way back in 28th. How important was it for you to qualify that close to the front? Because I know that allowed you to get the boost very early on in this one.
Always real important. Track position is almost everything in this series when everybody's so close together. So, you don't really want to start, past 20th. It hurt PJ. I could tell he was really, really fast. I wasn't really sure where he came from, but I knew he was a little faster, and, luckily he just didn't have the caution, stayed green, and just, was able to capitalize on it.
When we talked during the preseason show there, you said that outside of Daytona, the objective is to win every week. Well, 1 for 1 in that category. Moving on from the plate track, and again, as we all kind of talked about at the top of the broadcast, this is really where the work begins, working through these opening 12 races to get into the top 8 in the championship. You guys got away from Daytona with a good result, and then getting a win here tonight, I know has to have you guys feeling pretty good after 2 weeks.
Oh, it feels great, just to get back in the swing of things and working on oval sets. We already have most of the work done from California, from Pro Series, but after that, it's going to be a lot of work. The low downforce package is supposed to come out on the 29th, I believe, so that's going to be a ton more work for us and probably more excited racing. Just a lot less downforce. We're going to really be sliding all over the place, so I really can't wait for that. The low downforce, dynamic track, everything is just really, really fun. And I really can't wait for dirt to come out. It's going to be hard to stay focused.
Yeah, I know that's going to be trying to suck some of the time away from you. With Fontana in 1 week, it's going to be the end of this little bit of a 3-week kind of melee here to start off with no breaks for the opening couple of weeks. You guys feel like you guys can get a good result there?
I think we can. We ran really well in California. That was probably actually the fastest I was in the entire Pro Series, just in relation to the field. So we were really, really fast at California, so we have a great base. So just to tweak on that and, qualify up front and keep the track position, You
worked hard over 250 miles tonight, Ryan. We will let you take off. Before we do, the sponsors, the shout-outs, and all those good folks. Who makes it happen for you?
Everybody at SimWorks and Dead Zone. That's 2 for 2 for us at SimWorks. So great for us, a new team. So really, really excited. And congrats to Derek for taking Daytona. Everybody at Dead Zone, Alan Bowes, Houston Hammer, Dustin Lingert. Thanks to them. I got to thank my sponsors, Racer Bruce Graphic Solutions, for coming on board. There's a lot of real racers out here that need hero cards, websites, t-shirts, anything like that. They do a great job, so check them out. and also Fast Track Sims for coming on board. They have a lot of top-notch sim racing equipment, steering wheels, pedals, even like triple monitor stands. That's something I really need. All my stuff is rocking around. So they also do a bunch of motion rigs and dirt simulators actually coming out. So that'll be really, really cool. Wish I had the money for it, but we're driving good as it is.
I know that DJ and the guys are going to be very happy with the camera time that number 1 Ford got tonight. Ryan, congratulations on the win. And if the Pro Series, the way that started, was any indication, I'm sure with still 14 races to go, we will talk to you very shortly. So again, congratulations. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Evan.
That is the driver who beat the rest of them tonight. Ryan Lewis is a winner in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series' first career win coming tonight from Las Vegas. Another driver, a series veteran who had a fun night and ended up in P2, is Cody Bias, and the driver of that number 27 machine is trackside with Cam.
Yeah, I'm going to be here with Cody Bias, the driver for the number 27 Simcraft Chevrolet SS. Cody, you started in 6th position, you came home in 2nd, but there's so much more, especially at a track here like Las Vegas. Take me through your day here.
Yeah, it was a very uneventful night, and it's just a testament to all the work the team put into this car for the last couple of weeks. And yeah, we started well, we ran well. I thought we had maybe something for Lewis after we kept adjusting on it throughout the race. It was just pit stops were key, and he just basically beat us there on and off from pit road and lost a lot of time there. And we were fairly even time-wise to him towards the end after looking back at it. And it's just, like I said, it's just a big testament to all the hard work these guys put into the car. And it was a rocket ship tonight.
Yeah, and it seemed definitely built for these longer runs. That team car looking fairly well out there. Now, we started the race. We had a caution on lap 1. We had a caution very early on, I think lap 30 something or other. And then we had the final 132 laps were green. Normally, when you start the day with cautions, you typically end the day with cautions. This one take you by surprise?
Yeah, it was a good surprise though, for sure. Like you said, our car favored the long runs, especially tonight. It was just fun to search around, and it made the last, like you said, 130 some laps very, very fun, because then it gave like our team an opportunity to try to find which groove worked for our car best, and it gave us a chance to have a mistake-free night and come out with a solid top 5, which is what this team needed after last week.
And speaking of next week, it is going to be in Fontana Auto Club Speedway. Looking forward to it, perhaps?
Yeah, for sure. Our club's one of my favorite tracks on the sim. And last year we were fortunate enough to lead a few laps there. We had a speeding penalty, but we still came away with the top 10 last year. So hopefully with what we have rolling here, we can go in there and hopefully get another solid top 5.
Well, and perhaps we could have another interview. Perhaps you could interview Evan. But either way, though, who gets it done for you in that number 27 Chevrolet?
Again, I just want to keep thanking the team again for an awesome car tonight. It was perfect on the long run, and without them, none of this would be possible. As well as Simcraft coming on board this year, that's a big thing for our team, and couldn't be more proud to have them on board and represent them as well as we did. And lastly, I just want to thank Ryan Hunt and Justin Bolton for being on top of the box tonight. They adjusted the car, they spotted me out of trouble, and they kept me calm and cool tonight, and I can't thank those guys enough.
That very slick number 27 Chevrolet coming home in the 2nd position. Cody, thank you for hopping in the RaceSpotTV booth. I'm sure we'll see you at Auto Club. You have a good one.
You too, Cam. Thank you.
And with that, we are now going to go talk to PJ Sturgis. He comes home in 3rd position. Big story, Andy, from that driver, Shirley. He started in 28th.
Oh, that's a huge story coming into this one. The qualifying effort, not quite there, PJ, but runner-up last season to Ray Alfala for the championship. You're doing pretty good here to start this season. Back-to-back weeks in the top 10. A top 5. How about a top 3 after we get out of the plate tracks? Talk about this race here tonight. Long green flag run, 130-plus laps. Obviously a fast race car coming from the back.
Yeah, real good night for the Sam Maxwell Customs and Sim Experience Ford. To come home in P3, it was way better than what I was expecting. This is usually a track I struggle at. So, and qualifying started off bad, so I figured we were in for a long night, but those guys at NX and GFR, they put a really good car under me this week. I threw a whole bunch of different ideas at it and couldn't get anything to work. And then the night before the race, actually the night of the race, just an hour before, Matt Busa had me trying something a little bit different. And yeah, it really worked. So hats off to him for the pole, and myself and Clamp for getting into the top 5 for our team. And of course, congrats to Ryan on his first NPAS win, and Cody for second.
Yeah, it was definitely a good night. Obviously, the long runs helped a lot of guys. For yourself, it definitely did too. Fun to watch that 57 coming up through the field there on those long green flag runs. Was that probably the big key to help you get through a lot of these spots to get yourself up into the top 3, or was it more just the car was just that good on the long run for you?
For me, I think the car could work anywhere on the track, low, high, middle, it didn't matter. So that was a big key to getting through traffic. It was real tough there some laps, and guys are going side by side, and you have to be patient. You can't just have to kind of lay back instead of kind of forcing it 3 wide. So we were able to be a little patient there in situations when we needed to be, and go for it when we had to. So things worked out in our favor tonight. Had really good pit stops on pit road, and yeah, really couldn't ask for anything better than it was after starting way back there in P28. So looking forward to California here next week.
Yeah, speaking of California, we get to that place, another place that's pretty tough on tires on the long run, but it's also one of those tracks, very wide, very sweeping corners that you can really gain a lot of time as well too on a long run if you can save your stuff. Talk about that racetrack and how you guys expect to come out of that place.
Well, California it's been a tough track for me, except last year I finished second there, so you never know what can happen there. But usually, yeah, it's an exciting one. Like you say, tire wear is really important there, and being a pretty narrow racing groove can lead to some really tough racing and some really big wrecks as we've seen there in the past. So if we can keep it clean and get a car that handles like it did tonight, I think we'll be able to pick up another top 5, and which would be really good for the points here going into the chase.
Yeah, it definitely will. Obviously, getting with the chase involved this season, getting a good start to the season, definitely the way you want to go. 6th place last week, this week 3rd. Hopefully next week a couple more spots ahead of that is in the cards for you. But we'll let you, before we let you go there, PJ, sponsor shout outs. I know you mentioned them before. Anybody else you'd like to thank?
In addition to Sam and the guys over at AccuForce and Sim Experience, I'd like to thank SimLab, vracing.se, I Analyze Racing for all their support. It's cool to have them on the car, and of course thanks to everybody at NX Racing and Gale Force Racing for all the hard work that went into this car. Weeks like this, it shows on the track. It's nice to have that kind of hard work pay off.
It absolutely does. We wish you the best of luck next week at Auto Club, and congratulations again on the top 3 here tonight.
Thanks, guys.
There you have it. 3rd place finisher PJ Sturgis does the job, coming from all the way in the back of the field. Well, how about the guy that caught up with Cam right now, Ray Alfala, started 4th. He finished there. Not a bad night for the number 2 machine.
Yeah, there's so much more to the story, I feel. Ray, you started in 4th, you finished in 4th, but Las Vegas, the story is always much longer than that. The number 2 Ford taking care of you, though, today, and not a bad points day.
Nope, no story here. Started 4th, finished 4th. That's about it. See you guys. No, it was a lot of fun. I tell you what. I mean, Chris Overland before the race was kind of joking around. Watch us be up by the wall on 3 and 4, and I kind of was like, "There's no way." And well, there you go. We were up there, so that was cool to see. The whole race, I was just kind of not sure where to run because everything kind of worked. So. I would go to the top randomly and to the bottom randomly, and I was just kind of out there, picking it up on the fly. But yeah, we had a pretty good car. Got up to second at one point. Never really contended for the win. We lost a lot of time on pit road, one of those green flag stops, and that was about it. But we ran in the top 5 of the whole race, and it was a good showing for virtual racing school again, and. Thank everybody on Slip Angle Motorsports for all the help, and also Turkey and Sal for their help on pitbox.
Yeah, and we started the race pretty much under yellow, and then about 20 or 30 laps after that, we had another yellow, and then the final 132 laps ran green. You don't really see that every day. I know we ran completely green at Phoenix last year, but at Las Vegas, especially with these cars moving and shaking all race long, that's got to be an interesting one to make a strategy for.
Yeah, that was quite a bit of hard work. With like 10 laps to go, apparently I ran the whole race. Excuse me, I have a bit of a cold, but I ran the whole race, and apparently I was in the same like seating position the whole race, and I shifted my back with like 9 to go, and just I just felt like a sharp pain. I was like, oh man, I guess I haven't moved the whole race. It's been pretty hard work just staying focused and trying to pick what line to run, and just a lot more dynamic really than any other race at Las Vegas that we've run before. So that was pretty cool. Just early on in the race, I was running like fourth and watching the leaders race forward, and they were like 2 and 3 wide. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is actually pretty cool. I wish I was up there, but it's still pretty fun to watch.
And, of course, the next race will be at Auto Club Speedway. That is certainly going to be a fun one. And then the next day, there's going to be the brand new package. So we'll just talk about California real quick. Hopefully, Auto Club goes well for you. Looking forward to the 2-miler?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite tracks. We won there last year, and who knows? This is one of those tracks that the very top has not worked yet. So, but this is going to be our first race on at this track with this updated dynamic track model version 2, I guess you could call it. So that'll be interesting to see if we're at least up there, because last year we ran a little bit high line, a little bit, but I didn't really move them up all race. So who knows? I'm looking forward to maybe running a bit higher next week.
And then, of course, the day after that, you guys are going to be getting the 2017 Cup car. You kept rolling with the changes last season, and now you've got it 3 times sitting on the door. Obviously, it's a lot of effort to pretty much overhaul the car and bring it to the 2017 standards. You guys going to be up for it?
Yeah, well, we have to, there's not much of a choice there, but good thing is there's plenty of time from here to the playoffs, and so right now we're just kind of going through the motions and preparing for the end of the season, if you will. So that's nice in that regard. But yeah, we'll see what challenges it brings, and I'm pretty sure all the teams are going to be running around with their heads cut off trying to figure out the car.
Well, hopefully it won't be too crazy. But Ray, thanks very much for hopping in the booth with us. Anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to before we let you loose?
Yeah, thank you guys for the broadcast. Great job. The camera work and just a great production every week. I usually put on the Chromecast after the race, and the image quality is amazing. It's crazy how far it's come, and so thank you guys for that. And again, everybody on Slip Angle for all their support, and see you guys in a week.
All right, Ray, thank you very much. Of course, Ray Alfalla, you're a 3-time NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series champion. Andy, why don't we go down to the number 44 car, the Chevrolet SS of Logan Clampett. Well, he started 14th, finished in 5th position.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic run for the 44, Logan Clampett. And you talk about a driver wanting a good start to the season. How about it? 2 top 5s for you, Logan. Not a bad way to start, especially with a playoff this season here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. How important are these good finishes early in the season going to be for you guys?
Well, first I'd like to thank my sponsors, our team sponsors first. They help us out, support us all the time. V Racing, I Analyze Racing, and SimLab, and of course my main sponsor, Racer Boost and the Drill Spill, as to JDR Graphics for painting this beautiful team here tonight. And we'll be running that as a main sponsor next week at Auto Club. But it's definitely a great start to the season. I couldn't be any happier. But great win to Ryan. He absolutely killed the field. Just pulling everyone by 5.5 seconds. I tried everything. My pit stops weren't the greatest throughout the race, so we could probably improve on that next week at Auto Club. But yeah, I'll definitely take a top 5 for the second race of the season.
Now, this race, obviously 130 plus laps, green flag to end this thing. A bunch of green flag pit stops. You talked about the pit stops maybe hindering a little bit. Obviously, though, that many green flag laps, got to keep the focus to make every lap count. And the fact that the tires are wearing, different lines were working, you had to move around all race long. How hard was it for you to keep focused for those 130 plus laps there at the end?
It was pretty difficult to keep focused. You're kind of just in the zone, trying to catch the guy in front of you, keep up with the guy in front of you. So it's very difficult to go that long, staying green and stay concentrated, since you want to fall asleep or zone out, or you're dying because you're really hot, you're sweating. But yeah, everything's really important, concentration in these races.
Well, we hope you don't fall asleep, because although it would make for a spectacular TV crash. But anyway, a fifth place here tonight. You move on to Auto Club, the last one with this 2016 basically set up for the car. Going into Auto Club, obviously a lot of guys like this track. I know you're pretty quick here yourself. Size up that place. Do we see another top 5 out of you in the 44 bunch?
Well, hopefully it's my home track there next week, so hopefully I can pull out a top 5 and just keep on, getting decent finishes throughout the season, and just kind of wrap this thing up and getting into the chase, like I said last week.
That's what it's all about, obviously, with this season, getting into that chase. We head to California, like I said, next week with the final time, basically, with this setup and the downforce package that we have here. You move on to the next one. Obviously, you guys get an extra week in between to prepare for that race. How important is that going to be for you guys and your team?
It's going to be pretty important. We're going to try and build a pretty decent setup for Auto Club to try and compete with Luza, and hopefully he isn't as fast as he was next week. So yeah, that'll be definitely exciting to watch, and hopefully I can just get a top 10, top 7 out of it.
Well, we hope that. Obviously, Luza was pretty quick there in the Pro Series this winter at Auto Club, so tweak on that thing as much as you can this week. Hopefully we'll see you guys up in the top 5. We'll give you this opportunity, though, Logan. A fantastic run here tonight. I know you mentioned your sponsors. Anybody else you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd also like to thank my team that I'm on, NX Racing. They're really good with communication. They work really hard on setups each week to get our car in the top 5, and also Gale Force Racing, the people who we are working with throughout the season. They've been a huge help. They actually tweaked on the setup a lot there to get that Vegas setup rolling and get PJ and I third and fifth.
Well, a fantastic night, fantastic start to the season for you, Logan, in the number 44. Wish you the best of luck. Hopefully we'll see you up in the top 5 again next week at Auto Club.
Thanks, Andy.
There you have it, Logan Clampett coming home with a top 5 here tonight. Back-to-back top 5s for that driver. A pretty good start. We talked about a start with the chase coming up here, Evan, this season. A good start to the season is what you need. You got to be in that top 12 before this thing's ready to go to that chase.
Yeah, and I think the schedule kind of works out in the favor of all of this because, again, these first 3 weeks back to back to back, they're going to get an off week at least to try to figure out those 2017 cars, and that'll be fun because, there's a lot of 1.5 mile racetracks on this schedule, but Cam, it's going to be a completely different car come Texas, and I'm curious to see what the team's going to work with, and we might see a completely different group of drivers compared to these first 3 weeks who have figured something out, or it might not make that much of a difference. We just kind of have to sit around and wait until these guys can get on track in those cars.
Oh, the waiting's the worst. Last season, there were some changes to the car, and the fast guys were able to adapt to it, and they were able to come to the front with a couple of decent surprises, especially when we get long green flag runs. And hopefully we can get that running here today. I see on the schedule, April 25th, Phoenix International. It wouldn't surprise me if these guys don't try to do a complete green flag run just like they did last season. I love these long green flag runs. You really get to see the strategy. And of course, we're going to have these new 2017 cars. That is always an exciting thing, really showing you iRacing absolutely holds NASCAR to near and dear to its heart, keeping it right up and top and updated, and we love to see that.
And obviously, we go to Fontana. Fontana, nothing like the two tracks that we've been to so far. Daytona, Las Vegas, completely different elements, Andy, compared to the 2-mile D-shaped oval out in Fontana.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Big sweeping corners for these drivers. A relatively flat track when you talk about speed. There is banking, obviously, in the corners, but it's relatively flat. Not as much banking as you'll see at a place like this, or Charlotte, or even Texas Motor Speedway. So the drivers have a lot to work through as far as that, but it is one of the most fun racetracks to go to, especially if you got a good handling car. And we saw exactly what Ryan Luza did in that Pro Series this winter at Auto Club. So he mentioned it. They got a pretty good base to start with. You know they're going to be tweaking at it all week long, but I expect to see that car up towards the front, and I expect to see a lot of these guys that we saw here tonight with great race cars and fast race cars to be up there once again.
2 races down, 2 different rookies have gone to victory lane, both for the first times in their career. With that being said, round number 2 in Las Vegas falls into our rearview mirror. I want to thank all of you for watching this special presentation of RaceSpotTV, streaming live on iRacing Live, Facebook Live, as well as Fans Choice TV and the Motor Racing Network. For more information about the iRacing World Championship Series, please visit wcs.iracing.com. On behalf of everybody who makes these things possible, for Isfed Ballo on the cameras, Simon Grossman, Kevin Papey, and their entire team for the broadcast CG, Andy Warner on the graphics, of course, Will Vincent, Hugo Louise, and the entire team at RaceSpotTV, and for the crew top sign tonight. For Andy Kessler, Cam Walsh, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for joining us and congratulate your winner, Ryan Luza, first time on his career. We will see you once again next Tuesday on March the 28th from Fontana, California, and the Auto Club Speedway for the 3rd race of 16 on this, the 2017 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. That race and every race can be found, as always, right here on iRacing.com/live. Until then, good night.